Ladies and gentlemen, make an announcement before we start. I am requesting that all cell phones and electronic devices be turned off or in a mute position as to not disturb the meeting. Any member of the public also has a right to make an audio or video recording of an open session of a public meeting. A member of the public who wishes to record a meeting must first notify the chair and must comply with reasonable requirements regarding audio or video equipment established by the chair, so as not to interfere with the meeting. The chair is required to inform other attendees of such recording at the beginning of the meeting. We do have a reporter here that is going to do a video off and on spotly anyways. We now call the meeting to order, Town of Wareham Board of Selectmen Sewer Commission. Clerk.
Mr. Chairman, all 5 selectmen are present, as is the town administrator, Mr. Andrews. Under announcements, the Onset Bay Association is bringing a little Las Vegas to Onset on Saturday, January 28th. It's from 8 to midnight, and this is a fundraiser for the 20th Annual Onset Blues Festival. Admission is $2. Admission is a $2 donation to the Blues Festival, which will be held in August. And the location is at Stevie B's Onset Sports Resort on Onset Avenue. Again, that's 8 to 12, January 28th. We'll remind you next week. The Onset Bay Association, as most of you know, is a nonprofit group trying to improve the quality of life in Onset. The Wareham Friends of the Library are having a book sale at the Spinney Library on February 25th from 10 to 3:30. Donations of books may be dropped off during the following hours: Mondays 10 to 4, Tuesdays 6 to 8, and Saturday 12 to 4. It's good to know that people listen to the announcements, so I'm going to repeat this one. We had a very nice response last week to the Senior Council on Aging in terms of the volunteers for Meals on Wheels and to help serve the lunch program. So I want to mention that again. If you're able to drive, if you're able to help out and volunteer to deliver some meals, they do reimburse you for the gas. Please stop by the Council on Aging in this building. Their numbers and emails are on our town website. Please do what you can, especially now that the weather seems like it may start to get colder and more difficult to deliver the food. On January 26th, I haven't seen this yet, but I hear it's pretty good. Wareham Community Television is presenting postcards from Onset at the Wareham Free Library Thursday, January 26th at 6:30 p.m. That's January 26th, 6:30 through 8 p.m. And this is a documentary that was produced by Wayland, I say that every time, Wareham Community Television. I heard Wayland City Cable TV growing up every day, so it's difficult. But Wareham Community Television did this documentary, and it's really interesting. 20 local storytellers recall the history of the village of Onset. So we'll be repeating that next week. On January 17th, which is today. I hope many of you attended the Wareham Free Library to hear the discussions at Jamestown, Virginia. Did anybody go? Let's hear. Did you like it?
Yeah, it was great.
It was great. See? So, and you know, I'll give a quick personal shout out to Denise. I think that she's doing a marvelous job there. I hear a lot of good comments about the library. From Ms. Maynard over at the Gleason YMCA, they're giving away free family memberships with 5 days of child care or a combination of 2 adding to 5 days a week. Child care is at the Sippican Elementary School in Marion, licensed by EEC. For more information, contact Gleason Family YMCA. She forgot to mention that the ages are available for a child care at Sipican 15 months to 5 years old. Half-day kindergarten in the toddler and preschool rooms. 5 years full kindergarten up to 6th grade. Mrs. Winslow, do you have anything?
Mr. Holmes, I just want to give a shout out to my brother and my sister-in-law and welcome their first son, Wyatt, into the world less than 24 hours ago,
Wow.
the long-anticipated arrival
Lovely.
from my newest nephew.
Wow.
Although I'm not sure they're watching, but
Well, someday you can give this to him as a
there
gift.
you go.
Mr. Schneider?
I have no announcements.
Mrs. Begley? Nothing? Mr. Cruz?
Oh, we're set to go.
That takes care of the announcements.
Okay, citizen participation. Let me see, we may have to cut this down. If it's all going to pertain to the same thing, we're going to hear a couple and then, okay, we'll start on this side.
Good evening, Eleanor Martin. I'm president of the Onset Bay Association, and I just have two letters that I wanted to read. One from myself as president of the Onset Bay Association. It says, "To whom it may concern, the Onset Bay Association is a nonprofit group that endeavors to bring business into the community and to offer to the community events that will not only prosper the local businesses, but will bring visitors and residents together to enjoy the beauty of our village. I would like at this time to make aware to the town of Wareham, village of Onset, what a difference has occurred in the dealings that the Onset Bay Association has experienced since Mark Andrews has been appointed as the town administrator of Wareham. The cooperation that has been put forth by Mark Andrews as town administrator with our association has made our endeavors more likely to succeed and to become a part of the town's ongoing attraction to visitors and businesses. As president of the Onset Bay Association, I strongly urge the town of Wareham to renew the contract with Mark Andrews in order that he may continue with the work that he has started in bringing Wareham back to economic prosperity. Sincerely, Eleanor Martin, President, Onset Bay Association." And I also have a note that Mary Lou Payton, who wanted to be here tonight but wasn't able to because she had a slight injury this afternoon, wanted me to read. She was the past president of the Onset Bay Association. Her note reads, "Good evening. My name is Mary Lou Payton, and during my 18 years as a director and 2 terms as president of the Onset Bay Association, I have had the opportunity to interact with 3 other Wareham town administrators. It now gives me great pleasure to say working with Mark has been professionally gratifying. He has been uniquely interested and responsive to the needs of Wareham and the village of Onset. Mark has consistently shown initiative and reached out to and encouraged feedback from the community. He has been approachable, credible, and sincerely interested in the community's well-being. For example, Mark invited community representatives from the OBA and from the WVA, which is the Wareham Village Association, to participate in the Safe Summer Initiative. These 2 associations, along with many department heads from the town of Wareham, work together to provide luncheon to thank and acknowledge town employees. For the remainder of the summer into the fall, these groups met weekly to keep each other up to date on upcoming events in Onset and Wareham. This in turn provided for significantly better communications between the various parties and provided for a more cost-effective and beneficial allocation of resources. Such management practices has significantly improved our communities at many levels. I therefore strongly recommend the selectmen of the town of Wareham rehire Mark Andrews as our town administrator." And that was for Mary Lou, and the first one was for myself, and we hope you do as we urge and rehire Mark. And that was it. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much. Next one.
I'm Kate Furler, and I'm from the Swift Speech Improvement Association, and I too am rising to commend Mark. We have had a number of issues of erosion in our roads that Mark has spearheaded getting it taken care of. We had a problem with our playground that was vandalized, and Mark arranged for us to be able to get the materials. We got the volunteers, and we got it all cleaned up, and it's quite wonderful now. So I hope you will rehire Mark because he's terrific. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Alan Slavin. I'm here really due to the town clerk had put out a notice several weeks ago, maybe 3, about voter registration and the census. I just want to clear up and bring out to the public the issue. If someone did not participate in the 2011 census, the Secretary of State basically sent a notice back to the town clerks all over that that person's name would then be removed from the active list and voter registration, they'd be moved to inactive. It doesn't mean they can't vote, but when they come up to actually vote at any of our elections, they will have to bring positive proof that they're a resident of the town they want to vote in, or else they will not be able to vote. And I'm sure a lot of people didn't read the information or probably don't have that information, so it is going to be a problem. I don't believe the clerk has set up any extra hours in order to accommodate people who cannot get in between 8:30 and 4:30 to get in and actually basically take themselves off the inactive list and move it to the active. It's a simple procedure, but when you have a voting booths coming up during an election, it is a real problem. A lot of people won't bring in the proper identification, and they'll think they're registered and they're not. I think it has to do with, if you look at the census, it has on a statement on there, if you don't participate, it tells you could have problems because of that. And I checked with Mary Ann today just to make sure, and that did come down from the Secretary of State's office. So it's not they can't vote, it's that they go from the active to the inactive list. And in order to vote, they've got to get that changed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, if you could stop there for a second, I think we probably should make a note of that, because the town clerk just sent out all those postcards notifying people of the change in the locations. And a lot of the active people didn't turn their census in. They would have never got the postcard. If I think that's what I'm hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Selectmen. I'm here to attest to Mr. Andrews' evaluation. I'm going to bring it back a few years. When I first came to Onset, there was a town manager called Joe Gracia. I don't know if anyone remembers Joe, Mr. Gracia at all, but he was a very altruistic man. He was kind. He was supportive of the community. Very bright. And not since Joe passed away many years ago, in my opinion, has there been a town official or town manager as Mr. Andrews. I feel safer walking the streets of Onset and Wareham because of the police that has changed hands and done well. I see the town being a more sobering society, noble. I just think that the man is doing as good a job as anyone that I've seen in this town, or better. The civility that I read about and talk to people about in our town, and that's including the town and the selectmen, must be applauded as far as I'm concerned. So, in my opinion, he's out there with the people. He's helped me in many instances in some of my endeavors. And in my conversation with folks, he should remain as our town administrator for the mere fact that he is an altruism man. He is a kind-hearted soul, and he knows what he's doing as far as I'm concerned. And I thank you for listening to me. Thank you,
Thank you
sir.
very much.
Mr. Chairman, at this time I'd like to make a motion to open the public hearing.
Okay, we have a public hearing scheduled for 7:15, so we're going to go into that. And then we'll
Second.
return back.
Made and seconded.
Motion made and second, go into hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 5-0-0.
Do we have the representatives from Digital Federal Credit Union here? Digital. Mark, if you wouldn't mind open, just speak right into it, identify, and give us the update and what you're here for.
Sure. Good evening. I'm Mark Harriman from Digital Credit Union. We are the owners of Bay Point Country Club, and we are applying for the seasonal liquor license for the Pavilion building at 10 Bay Point Drive.
Good evening, John Aida, representing Digital Federal Credit Union in connection with this application. Again, this is the seasonal license at 10 Bay Point Drive. And standing in the back, this is Mr. William Fuller. He's also the proposed manager of record. You're familiar with Mr. Fuller. He's been before the board, both on the annual license and in several occasions on one-day licenses for the space at the pavilion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I believe that we have a request from the from the office, and I would like to make a motion that the address on the application be changed from 19 to 10 Bay Point Drive to correct the typographical error in the advertisement. The abutters list remains the same as the two buildings are next door or behind each other.
Second.
Motion made and second by Mike, second by Kara. Question? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? 500 for the change. Any other questions from the board?
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Yes.
Is Bay Point open,
Not at the moment, no.
but you have a hold a year-round license for the clubhouse? Did we not renew that?
It was
Go ahead, Mark.
it was renewed recently, within the last day or so.
Okay.
That was just approved from the state, actually, within the last couple of weeks. And I just got notice of that from Ms. Oldfield in the last week or 10 days or so.
How long has the clubhouse been closed?
December 1st.
Well, was there any?
They weren't in control of the license itself until the state approves it. So that's the process we had gone through when we were here, I believe, in August. So at that point, legally speaking, the credit union cannot sell or do anything in terms of alcoholic beverages on that clubhouse premise until the license was approved from the state. So that was the prior license.
So now that the license is approved, the clubhouse will open per the terms of the license?
We are very close to having the closing on the property itself. I would expect that to happen within a week. You have a revised LOI in front of you. So we have to work on the technicalities of being able to open if he doesn't have the license yet and we do and we've sold the property. So we need to work with that.
Thank you, Mr. Harriman. Mr. Chair, I know that we have our counsel in the room, and my concern about this is that the year-round liquor license that is held on the clubhouse is...
Can I just point out that we're not here on the on the issue of the annual, and I know it's, at point, but we're actually here on the seasonal application.
I understand that, sir, but I'm trying to base a decision about, and my colleagues are trying to make a decision about issuing a liquor license, and in my estimation, I'd like to hear from our counsel as to if you hold a full year-round liquor license and the operation is not open, if for some reason your closing gets delayed, is the clubhouse not going to open? And would it really be prudent of me to issue a second liquor license if you're holder of one and not following the terms of that?
Well, I think it can kind of clarify just the whole process is when they foreclose on the property. Obviously, the next step is to getting all the licenses and permits in their name. That just happened. I mean, so we're kind of just moving forward now, given that it took a lot longer than expected, because traditionally you have two willing participants as part of the transfer. Here, it was only one-sided, unfortunately. So there was a lot of background stuff that had to be done, a lot of, checking on the prior operation and everything else to get that transferred. So
does Mr. Harriman want to revise his answer? Is the clubhouse going to open for business?
Well, we have to check with your counsel also,
Okay.
as opposed to, because we're looking at closing within a week.
Okay.
And can we actually open if we don't own the property and the license is in in limbo is it while we go through that transfer process.
So let's.
So can I add for just one thing? The reason we started this seasonal license process was in case the sale did not go through, so we could control both and operate as we normally would. So that's why we started this process now on the second license.
So is the intent of DCU, if this closing falls through or there's some issue, are you going to open the clubhouse and operate it per the license?
We will.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Snyder?
if I may, while I share some of the concerns of my colleague, I also think that we are here to address the seasonal license, and I think that the appropriate course of action, if we have these questions related to the year-round license, would be to request a show cause hearing to discuss the year-round license. I guess from my standpoint, I'm just curious as to what your plan is for the seasonal license at the pavilion, and if you could explain that, when you plan to begin operating that, and just what the overall plan is.
Well, the seasonal license cannot be operated until, it's April through November is the time frame. So I think what Mark is trying to say is, when they first got in there, obviously their intention was to look for a buyer at some point, whether that take a year, 2 years, or whatever. They were prepared to take over and operate fully if they needed to. They found a buyer, it sounds like what he's saying, and it may happen sooner than later. So this process is getting all the licenses and permits transferred in their name. If they need to open and operate because a buyer is not there, then I think Mark's saying they're prepared to do that.
Are there still, do you still have outstanding, or are there still outstanding contracts for weddings, et cetera, for that
I believe everything's
location?
been taken care of in terms of events at the pavilion.
There are no scheduled events right now.
No scheduled events? I don't have any other questions.
Any other questions from the board? Clerk?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, through you, Mark. If this license is approved by the board, do you expect the same kind of delay that we had with the other one? I mean, that's been
No, I
going
don't,
on
because
since August, right? August, we're in January. It just got approved.
I don't, Mr. Holmes, because we did have some back and forth with the ABCC
Right.
as to what they needed and what we could provide. So that has been all settled out. So no, there should not be any more.
So in this one here, we should be able to
This should be rather expeditious.
renew this and have it ready in the normal course of business like we normally do, and maybe next week you'll have it, or it takes a few
Well,
days.
it takes about 3 to 4 weeks still, and again, I kind of alluded to the issues prior, is on a straightforward transfer, you've got two people that are going towards a common goal. In here, as part of the foreclosure process, they had to review all the foreclosure documents, and again, they have to deal with DOR, Department of Revenue, Division of Unemployment Assistance. So a lot of times there's no one on the other side of that transferee. So we're kind of operating one-sided, and that was probably the best summary as to why the delay, was there. So this is a new license. There's only one side. They only have to look at Digital Federal Credit Union, and they've already reviewed that. They've already reviewed Mr. Fuller. So I think that process is going to happen a lot sooner.
Any other questions from the board? If hearing none, may I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, this is a public hearing.
Public.
Right. Anything from the public? We have one in the back. Step forward, please. Thank you.
Yeah, one of you might need to, Mrs. Ricky, sit down there up close to the mic.
Good evening. I'm Susan Ricky Sohn, and I'm an abutter of the Bay Point Country Club, and I would really want to see something like this happen, and I would welcome these people into the community. I think it is a real positive business. I've lived in that area for over 20 years now, and I've seen the transition, and the most recent one being with the Digital Credit Union, and even under their management. It seemed to me they had very good control, very professional, and they were upgrading the golf course. So I would hope there would be a lot of support on this particular project, and I would welcome them as new neighbors.
Thank you very much. Any other questions from the board? I mean, from the public? Hearing none. Have a motion to close the hearing?
I make a
Is there
motion
anything
to
further?
close.
Anything further from council? All set?
We're all set, thank you.
I make a motion to close the public hearing for the application for a seasonal common victular all alcoholic beverages license to Digital Federal Credit Union doing business as Pavilion at Bay Point Country Club, William Fuller, manager, 10 Bay Point Drive, Onset, Mass, under the provisions of Chapter 138 of the Massachusetts General Laws.
Second.
Motion made.
Second, yes.
Second by Mike. Close the hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Hearing closed.
Be that as it may, I'd make a motion that we approve the application for a seasonal common victular license, all alcoholic beverages license to Digital Federal Credit Union, doing business as Pavilion at Bay Point Country Club, William Fuller, manager, 10 Bay Point Drive, Onset, Massachusetts, under the provisions of Chapter 138 of Mass General Law.
Second.
In unison?
Aye.
Okay. Second by Kara. Question? Any? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? 5-0-0.
You had Kara or Mike on that?
Kara.
It's
Kara on
the
that.
same. We both
We
said
both
it,
seconded, yeah.
so it doesn't really matter.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you
Folks,
very much.
take care, gentlemen.
Mr. Chairman, at the request of the owner, I'd make a motion that we postpone the hearing on the Blue Dog until February 7th. Is that a new calendar up there, Barry?
Yes.
February 7th is a Tuesday.
Second.
Motion made by Steve, second by Kara, to postpone to February 7th, 012. Any questions? Mr. Begley?
For what reason is the delay, and is it, right now, they have a different manager, is that correct?
No, that's the problem. The owner had sent us that email changing the managers,
Mhm.
but the same manager is still there. He hasn't left yet.
Okay.
It won't be out until the end of the month,
Thank you.
or the February timeframe.
Thank
So
you.
he came and asked us to just put it off till then.
Any other questions from the board?
I guess he was here tonight. I don't know if he's still here.
No, I think he left.
He left.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? 5-0-0, postponed to February 7th.
And we have someone here from Mayflower Liquors, please.
Good evening. My name is Monica Joher. I'm actually manager at Mayflower Liquors.
A little closer. You got to get right on that thing.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
I'm here because I wanted to extend my business hours for Sunday. Currently, we're open from 12 to 9, and I wanted to extend them from 12 to 10.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
this is Mayflower Liquors. So the new hours are listed on your application. Oh, you're talking about only Sunday?
Only Sundays, yes.
Only Sundays, okay. That makes sense, thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
Mr. Chair, did we get any feedback from Chief Stanley or any member of the police department?
If I may, Mr. Chairman, we did get notified by the secretary, and Lieutenant Walsack looked at it, and we have no concerns.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks for coming in person to deliver that message, by the way. You just saved 6 pieces of paper, right?
Back me up.
How good does that get?
Okay, do I hear a motion on this?
I make a motion that we approve the application for change of hours from SRI OM LLC, doing business as Mayflower Liquors, 3150 Cranberry Highway, under the provisions of Mass General 138 of Mass General Law, as stated in the application.
Second.
Motion made by Steve, second by Mike. Question? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? 500.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you very much. Good luck. Next is the Target.
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
From?
I thought you said after the 7:15 hearing, you were going back to citizens.
Okay, yeah, right now we're on this, we're going to finish this, and then we'll go right on. Okay, thank you.
This application, last week, we had postponed for a week because the signature was wrong. It looks like it's been corrected. Signature of individual or corporate.
It has.
Signature of officer, Patty.
Great popcorn, by the way.
There you are. Okay, if you wouldn't mind just identifying yourself and explaining the application.
Kendra Merrill, I'm one of the managers at Target, and we're applying for a common vic license for Starbucks and Pizza Hut that operate within our store.
And this was one that we forgot to renew. Is that?
The holdup was we didn't get a signature from the fire chief until December 28th, so that was kind of a time constraint there.
Okay.
Questions from the board?
I have no questions, Mr. Chairman. I just have a comment. I would just like to take this opportunity to, on behalf of the town, thank you for Target's tremendous support of the National Night Out events, and you're out there in the community, and it's you know, for the big box stores to be doing, it's unusual for the big box stores to be doing that, and I think it's really appreciated. The National Night Out event was, you know, 2 years in a row has been tremendously successful.
Thank you.
And thank you very much.
Any other questions from the board? Hearing none?
I make a motion that we approve the application for common victuals license for Target Corporation, do a business as Target Store, T2292, 2421 Cranberry Highway, Wareham, Mass., under the provisions of Chapter 140 of Mass General Law.
Second. Second.
Motion made by Steve, second by Kara. Question? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? 500.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Mr. Clerk,
Mr. Chairman.
as a point of order was stated, we'll go back to citizen participation.
Mr.
On the
Chair,
right-hand side.
Mi- I am too. I was just going to say, Mr. Chair, perhaps after this person, we could take a break from citizens' participation so we can issue our proclamations so they can...
Okay, let me see how many more hands we have for, and if it's all pertaining to one, you know.
I'll wait until next week. Take care of the other thing.
Okay, Mrs. Slavin.
Sandy Slavin. I am the vice chair of the Conservation Commission. We noticed that there is a piece on the agenda called interview/appointment to the Conservation Commission. Would like you to delay that. Nobody has come before us. Nobody has attending our meetings as a potential candidate. We've not received the person's application. Only just came to us. We haven't had a meeting since we received the application. We just don't want another person appointed to the Conservation Commission that we haven't had a chance to interview or that they've attended any of our meetings. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
May I clarify for Mrs. Slavin?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett's application was just received in our office, and he was invited for an interview before our board.
Unfortunately, it says interview/appointment, and that had us confused and concerned that we were going to have another person appointed that we never saw.
I understand and appreciate that. It's
Okay.
just standard when they put it on the agenda. But just so you know,
It was just you're just an interview.
yes,
Okay,
it's just
thank
an
you.
interview.
Yeah, let's,
Don't let it take a minute to do.
Mr. Barrows, if you don't mind, we're gonna do the proclamation. We have proclamations here, 6 of them.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, it's not Mr. Barrows, it's just the general following procedure.
Okay, thank you.
Don't try to correct me.
No.
Thank you. Okay. I'll do. We have the board has several proclamations. I don't know if the Ms. Inez Berry, are you here, dear? Come on up. Maybe the board could stand up with Mrs. Berry out front here. Need a hand. And Marge Gardner, are you here? Marge?
Marge couldn't make it. She,
Yvonne Stone, come right on up.
you want her up there or here?
Yeah, right over here. I think it's fine. Wherever you'd like. Then maybe the board could sit with them. Oh, look at, she's doing great. We have several proclamations. I'll read the proclamation as the group is forming. The first proclamation is to Inez Berry. There you go. Yeah, maybe that's better. Have a seat. Ms. Inez Berry has served as a volunteer for more than 15 years for Wareham's elderly in the town of Wareham. And whereas as a trustee, Ms. Berry has provided valuable support and cherished service to the thousands of Wareham's elderly. Whereas Ms. Berry has a diversified background of volunteerism, serving as a member of the Wareham Historical Society and Wareham Garden Club, whereas Ms. Berry has been recognized as a strong advocate for seniors in discharging her responsibility as a trustee of the Friends of the Wareham Elderly, whereas Ms. Berry has worked to enhance senior programs, where she was recognized for her dedicated service as a recipient of the Friends of the Wareham Elderly prestigious President's Award. Whereas Ms. Berry was further recognized by attaining the Honorable Volunteer of the Year Award from Mayflower Bank. Whereas Ms. Berry has always promoted her role as a trustee in a positive and professional manner in serving our elderly. In witness, therefore, we, the Wareham Board of Selectmen, have hereunto set our hands and caused the official seal of the town of Wareham to be affixed this 17th day of January 2012, signed by the Wareham Board of Selectmen, Walter B. Cruz, Chairman, Stephen M. Holmes, Clerk, Kara A. Winslow, Ellen M. Begley, and J. Michael Schneider. The second proclamation is to Yvonne Stone. Whereas Ms. Yvonne Stone has served as a volunteer for more than 35 years for Wareham's elderly in the town of Wareham. Whereas as president, Ms. Stone has demonstrated unyielding leadership on a myriad of issues facing our senior citizens. Whereas as president, Ms. Stone has set a progressive agenda supporting a vast array of programs positively impacting Wareham seniors. Whereas Ms. Stone has held with bountiful distinction every position with the Friends of Wareham Elderly since their inception in 1978. Whereas Ms. Stone has dedicated her life to Wareham's elderly and is a recipient of the Friends of the Wareham Elderly prestigious President's Award. Whereas Ms. Stone has been further recognized by attaining the Honorable Volunteer of the Year Award from Mayflower Bank. Whereas Ms. Stone took stock of needed equipment at the multi-service center and helped raise over $15,000 for a new cooking range, 2 refrigerators, and other kitchen supplies. Whereas Ms. Stone demonstrated uncanny leadership in championing the new food pantry for Wareham's elderly. In witness, therefore, we, the Wareham Board of Selectmen, have hereunto set our hands and caused the official seal of the town of Wareham to be affixed this 17th day of January 2012, signed by the Wareham Board of Selectmen, Walter B. Cruz, Senior Chairman, Stephen M. Holmes, Clerk, Kara A. Winslow, Ellen M. Begley, and J. Michael Schneider. And if you just stay right there, we'll give her shout out. This proclamation goes to Marge Gardner. Whereas Ms. Marge Gardner has served as a volunteer with the Friends of Wareham Elderly for more than 20 years of sterling service for the elderly of the South Coast region. Whereas Ms. Gardner has exhibited the highest levels of volunteerism, augmented by dedicated service as a vice president for 2 years for the Friends of the Wareham Elderly. Whereas Ms. Gardner has excelled as a nutrition manager for Old Colony for 15 years. Whereas Ms. Gardner has a penchant for helping seniors if need of vital services. Whereas Ms. Gardner served with distinction as the chairman of the Crafts Committee, utilizing her creativity and artistic skills. Whereas Ms. Gardner further developed programs to send special cards to seniors to help brighten their day and to illustrate a caring touch. In witness, therefore, we, the Wareham Board of Selectmen, have hereunto set our hands and caused the official seal of the town of Wareham to be affixed this 17th day of January 2012. Wareham Board of Selectmen, Walter B. Cruz, Chairman, Stephen M. Holmes, Clerk, Kara A. Winslow, Ellen M. Begley, and J. Michael Schneider. A round of applause, please, for Marge. Okay. Is Midge Costa here? Well, maybe they'd like to sit too and listen. Midge? Midge, could you come up? And Janet Jones? Are you here as well, Janet? Look at that, and you get a nice seat while you're waiting too. That works out well, of course. Okay, folks, if we could have just a little quiet. Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I didn't see that. Make all the noise you want. It's okay. Oh, okay. To Midge Costa. Whereas Ms. Midge Costa has displayed the highest level of professionalism and courtesy while assisting the Wareham Police Department and the citizens of Wareham. Whereas Ms. Costa has committed herself to the true values of volunteerism above and beyond the parameters of the Senior Citizen Tax Work-Off Program. Whereas Ms. Costa has provided invaluable assistance to the Wareham Police Department in achieving its current status as a state-accredited police department. Whereas Ms. Costa has assisted the Criminal Investigation Division of the Wareham Police Department with the documentation of vital information that has led to enhanced investigative measures resulting in the arrest and continued investigations. Whereas Ms. Costa has assisted the Wareham Police Department with various administrative documentation efforts, and whereas Ms. Costa has demonstrated the highest professional values, a relentless and diligent work ethic, along with personality and a warm smile. In witness, therefore, you like that part, don't you? You do. In witness, therefore, we, the Wareham Board of Selectmen, have hereunto set our hands and caused the official seal of the town of Wareham to be affixed this day, 17th day of January 2012. Walter B. Cruz, Chairman, Stephen M. Holmes, Clerk, Kara A. Winslow, Ellen M. Begley, and J. Michael Schneider. Janet Jones. Whereas Ms. Janet Jones has displayed the highest level of professionalism and courtesy while assisting the Wareham Police Department and the citizens of Wareham. Whereas Ms. Jones has committed herself to the true values of volunteerism above and beyond the parameters of the Senior Citizen Tax Work-Off Program. Whereas Ms. Jones has provided invaluable assistance to the Wareham Police Department in achieving its current status as a state-accredited police department. Whereas Ms. Jones has assisted the Criminal Investigation Division of the Wareham Police Department with the documentation of vital information that has led to enhanced investigative measures resulting in arrest and continued investigations. Whereas Ms. Jones has assisted the Wareham Police Department with various administrative documentation efforts. And whereas Ms. Jones has demonstrated the highest personal values, a relentless and diligent work ethic, along with personality and a warm smile. Well, you both have a warm smile. In witness, therefore, we, the Wareham Board of Selectmen, have hereunto set our hands and caused the official seal of the town of Wareham to be affixed this 17th day of January 2012. Walter B. Cruz, Chairman, Stephen M. Holmes, Clerk, Kara A. Winslow, Ellen M. Begley, and J. Michael Schneider. Jackie Lindsay? Oh, she might want to sit down, Chief.
I left one.
Take it, have a seat in the hot seat or stand. It's up to you. Ms. Lorraine Jackie Lindsay has achieved the highest level of professionalism in the fields of business and community development. Whereas Ms. Lindsay has committed herself to the true values of volunteerism by initiating a vast array of community activities. Whereas Ms. Lindsay has designed, developed, and promoted a myriad of family-oriented festivals, including the Wareham Swan Festival, Wareham Garden Club, Polar Express, Wareham Fireworks Committee, fundraising for Cape Cod 1000, anniversary of the Canal Celebration, Tremont Nail Restoration Committee. Whereas Ms. Lindsay evolved into a B/Vibrant Community Leader as the president of the Wareham Village Association. Whereas Ms. Lindsay returned the Wareham Village Association to profitability and viability by utilizing her superb business skills and creativity. Whereas Ms. Lindsay enhanced the Wareham Village Association through her hard work, dedication, and devotion to her duties. Whereas Ms. Lindsay assisted the town of Wareham in major economic development initiatives, including our Wareham Works conferences 2010 and 2011. Whereas Ms. Lindsay has demonstrated impeccable values, a relentless work ethic, and most significantly, a special warmth and charm that distinguish her from all others. In witness, therefore, we, the Wareham Board of Selectmen, have hereunto set our hands and caused the official seal of the town of Wareham to be affixed the 17th day of January, 2012, signed Walter B. Cruz, Chairman, Stephen M. Holmes, Clerk, Kara A. Winslow, Ellen M. Begley, and J. Michael Schneider.
Can we get Mrs. Stone her plaque?
Yeah, it's out in the hallway.
Can you, yes, can you give it to her?
As soon as everybody
Thank
comes
you.
down. We will continue with the citizen participation. I think we'll start, we did this side of the room, we'll start on this one. Yes.
Good evening, Chief Stanley, Board of Selectmen, Town Administrator. This is a letter that I'm reading from my father to the town of Wareham from Anthony Tiny Lopes. Acknowledgement of leadership and friendship. I have asked my daughter, Michaela McCain, to share my thoughts with you on a leader and a friend, Mark Andrews. I met Mark shortly after he was appointed town administrator. In our initial and brief conversation, I was impressed with how much he knew about the Cape Verdean community and his desire to work with us. He said his door would always be open and his goal was to serve the entire community. As we parted, he said, "Tiny, when you have an activity, fundraiser, or program, count me in." I've heard these 3 words whenever our organizations have sponsored an event. I've always been able to count on support from Mark. If I asked a question and he didn't have the answer, he'd say, "I'll get back to you," and he always has. I knew from our first meeting I had a friend, and Wareham had a town administrator who would listen, reach out, and consider the well-being of the town first. In my opinion, leadership comes from within. Mark Andrews' knowledge and experience as a town administrator and his compassion for those he serves are attributes that true leaders need to be effective and successful. I am a homeowner in Onset, and although I spend my winters in California, I strongly believe one should involve themselves and express their opinion on the issues that impact them and or the community they live in. I serve on the executive board of the Onset Cape Verdean Festival Association, and I am serving as president of the Oak Grove Cape Verdean Cultural Center building project. The positive impact of both organizations has and will continue to be a force in the greater Wareham community and is a powerful example of what can be done when local organizations and elected officials trust one another and work together. These organizations could not have moved forward without the commitment, resources, and overall support of the town of Wareham and town administration. At the fall town meeting, I observed with interest the process, speakers, and discussions on the articles that had been prepared and presented. I was impressed with the events of the meeting, and in my opinion, the Board of Selectmen, Finance Committee, and Town Administrator listened attentively and responded to the community's wide range of topics in a courteous and professional manner. Recently, I read that Wareham received a clean financial audit for 2011, and the state certified the town tax rate. Kudos to the board, Mr. Andrews, and the Finance Committee for the job they are doing to ensure this outcome. Certainly, there is a lot of unfinished business in our town. I feel that continuity, leadership, and teamwork of those entrusted to guide our town through these difficult economic times is vital, and Mark Andrews is a guiding force in this success. Mark Andrews' work is not finished here. With Mark's commitment and support from the Board of Selectmen, he will keep our town on course as Wareham moves forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I rise in support of Mark.
Will you state your name?
Oh, Jim Eubanks, and from Precinct 4.
Thank you.
He shows up at all kinds of social events that he's really not paid to come to, and I really like that. I like also, when I talk to him, I'm talking to a real human being. Frankly, I like Saint Jeanette, but boy, the two before, it was proof that it's hard to get a good TA. You know, it's really hard. So I hope that we'll see, everybody will see it in their conscience or whatever to stick with him.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not going to speak to the merits, I suppose, of the things that many previous speakers have talked about.
Could you
regarding
identify
how-
yourself? Sit
I'm
down.
sorry, Margaret Ishihara, Precinct 3. I'm not going to speak to the merits because I hadn't prepared myself to do that on the topic that a lot of people seem to be talking about, which is the town administrator. I'm a little bit concerned with the process because I hear a couple of previous speakers seem to indicate that something more than the town administrator's evaluation seems to be on the table here. And I guess my question is, first of all, my understanding is the town administrator's existing contract doesn't expire to the end of this year, so we're like 12 months ahead of that. And my question is this, I'm sorry for being long-winded, but I'm a lawyer, so I get to be long-winded. On the executive session, item number 14, it says to discuss contract negotiations with non-union personnel. And I guess my question, in light of some of the comments of the previous speakers, is what contract or contracts are contemplated to be discussed under item number 14? Is, in fact, the town administrator's contract going to be discussed? I think that the open meeting law, the whole spirit behind that is to have open government, and I would sincerely hope that if that was going to be the case, that would be specifically mentioned in the selectmen's agenda. So I'm just asking that question. On item number 14, what contracts are being contracts are being negotiated with non-union personnel? That's all I have to say. I just have a question.
Would want to answer? Or?
I don't know. I don't have an answer to that.
I suppose that's of concern to me as well.
Right,
I just
okay.
want to raise that point, Mr. Chairman. I think it would be, if that is what's contemplated, I don't know if it is because I'm not getting an answer. I just think that's out of order, and that's just my point. Thank you.
Right, okay, thank you very much. I think it was added on by...
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I believe that, this item pertains to any contracts that are non-union. That's,
again?
the answer would be that, you know, that the item pertains to contracts that are for non-union positions.
That was the answer. Okay.
Steve Curry, Rose Point, Precinct 5. I'm coming before the board because I do have a concern. I know in the past, or based on my first question, would be public records law. I know Ms. Bagley had some questions when she ran that the public should be able to get information that when they request it through the proper channels. I applied for some public records a year ago, and I'm still waiting. I guess my next question, I went to the proper channels, I filled out the forms, I checked back with the Selectman's office on a monthly basis. After almost 5 or 6 months, I hadn't received any of the information. I filed a complaint with the Secretary of State's office, Public Records Division. They gave a decision back in September with a time frame to receive the information, and 4 months have gone by, and I'm still waiting for the information. I guess I went through the proper channels, so now my next venue is before you people. The information I applied for was for receipts and records of the computer audit that was done a year and a half ago. I know they finished with the audit. A report was written and presented to the board last November, not this November, the November prior. So I filled out the forms requesting receipts for payments to the vendors and a copy of the report. Again, to reiterate, I'm still waiting. The cost of the vendors, you know, what Digital Global was paid to do the audit, how much the attorneys were paid to do the audit and the investigations, both for the town. Excuse me?
How much were you charged?
Well, that was part of it. I received an estimate of $150 to get this information. I believe it was 4 hours for someone from the Selectman's office to find the reports and copy them, 4 hours from the accountant's office to find the information and copy them, and approximately a half hour, 45 minutes from the collector's office to make copies of the information and provide them. In the letter from the state, basically it was said for the referral that the information was to be provided, but the comment was made from the town that the report was not to be released because there's still an ongoing investigation on the computer audit, that it's not complete and it's still being investigated by the town and town council. I guess my question is there still an investigation going on? And after a year, when may I get this information?
Well, we have the two main people here that can answer that question. I hope they can. Mr. Town Administrator Mark Andrews, and we have the attorney right here. So,
Mr. Chairman, through you to Mr. Curry, we are working on that request. Some of the information that you requested preceded the current law firm in terms of documents that we would retrieve from the prior law firm. So we are in that process, and if you would like to come by the office tomorrow morning, we'll give you some reasonable timeline by which we can get you the information that we do have on hand. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
you want to try it again? You're going to come by tomorrow?
Well, just a note, I asked.
Just let us know.
Before you changed town council, it was 3 months they had this information. And basically, I'm looking for how much were they paid. So, I mean, doesn't the accountant's office have a bill how much they paid for the attorneys to do the fee? I mean, Copeland and Page didn't do the investigation. It was done by Attorney Torres and someone else. So I know we're still using that firm for investigations.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, just to make it very clear, Copeland and Page was under agreement initially to conduct the investigation. That's where the separation, if you will, comes with regard to Attorney Torres. So whatever documents that we do have, and once again, they would have to be copied and the fee would have to be paid, as I'm sure you understand, in order for our staff to continue. And if you want to stop by sometime mid-morning, I'm sure we can get to the bottom of it.
Okay, and then my second question, I guess, through town council, Mr. Chairman, if we may, is there still an investigation going on, and is still fees being incurred for that, as reported by the town to the state?
Mr. Andrews?
Mr. Chairman, I don't have the letter out in front of me, but at the time there was a continued ongoing investigation of a personnel management nature, of which the town did secure advice from not only the state, but from town council relative to the release of that documentation. And that's pretty much what I can say on that matter.
So the investigation is complete and I can get all documentation?
I'm not saying the investigation is complete. The timing of your letter of request, at that time, the investigation was ongoing. So you know, you got to catch up in time, Mr. Curry, in terms of what is available and when it was available.
All right, thank you very much.
There's still some personnel issues, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
There are some personnel matters we are looking into, and that is an ongoing matter for the administration.
Good evening. Thank you. Lynn Burrows, Main Street, Wareham. This is why I believe we can be confident we have a town administrator who cares about Wareham with Mr. Andrews. The positive things that have occurred since Mark Andrews came to Wareham as our new town administrator more than 2 years ago are innumerable and perhaps impossible to count. His most recent trophy moment was getting a clean audit and getting our tax rate set. Since I moved here 7 years ago, never once have I had so much confidence in an audit report. Under great criticism for who and how he chose the persons to do the audit, as usual, when the work was done, Mark Andrews came back shining. Currently, we are in our best financial position in years, and his brave choices are the reason. Also under great criticism, even to this day, Mr. Andrews hired our new police chief. The only problem that people I've spoken to, and it's been many, the only problem that they seem to have with Chief Stanley coming on board is his salary. I believe it's important for people to understand that several $1 million worth of drugs and future drug distribution of the same values and more have been stopped as a direct result of our current chief. None before him can boast of that. We have also seen several murderers and hardcore criminals seeking refuge or living in Wareham removed from the streets, and it's not cool to bring drugs in our school. If not for Mr. Andrews making the choice under harsh criticism to hire Chief Stanley, our town would be overrun with much more drugs and severe criminal behavior. Chief Stanley has already more than paid for himself, and once again, Mr. Andrews has outshined himself. The school department has been ignored in this town for years. Mr. Andrews has proven his ability to break down walls and barriers in departmental relationships. He is active in the school department's Readers Become Leaders program and has ventured into the middle school to speak to children about how local government works. We finally have open communication between our TA's office and school administration, which is a first since I moved here once again 7 years ago. Yet another shining star moment. He worked hard in obtaining more business licenses for our town and succeeded. He is working hard to encourage business to come to Wareham. He recently began the process of getting our streets and local properties cleaned up. Finally, if there's something going on in our town, he's always there. The Martin Luther King Breakfast, all the parades, the Cape Verdean Festival, the Swan Festival, National Night Out, and many others. You'll find him every Thursday afternoon speaking with any resident who wants him in his office. You'll find him honoring our volunteers, wearing a smile and an apron, serving them dinner. Whether speaking or standing on the sidelines, he's always here, caring for and about our town. I would expect that you all have glowing reports about our TA, and I look forward to hearing them tonight and for the town of Wareham's continued relationship with Mr. Andrews. Thank you, and Mr. Andrews, thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you. Anyone else? The last one.
Good evening. I'm Susan Rickey again. I just wanted to make a quick notice, and I apologize to Mr. Holmes that I didn't get this notice in your packet, but I'd like to leave it with you. But I'd like to say it now because it is a timely issue. The Community Events Committee of Wareham is again this year seeking to develop ways in which to distribute the hotel, motel, and parking receipt tax revenue collected and placed aside for usage in expanding and promoting tourism in Wareham. Active nonprofit associations that will be organizing specific Wareham events, activities, and programs are invited to participate in this program by requesting applications at the Board of Selectmen's office, Town Hall, 54 Marion Road, Wareham. Deadlines for these completed applications must be returned no later than March 15th, 2012. If you have any questions regarding this program, you can contact me on my cell phone, 508-789-1164. And on a side note, I would like to thank Chairman Walter Cruz, who's been our liaison for this committee for several years now, and more recently, the past couple of years, has been Town Administrator Mark Andrews. And I appreciate the support and all the events that they've helped participate in. I want to thank, all of you who have given us support. And I would also hope that everyone did get my letter regarding Mark Andrews, and I'd like to have it filed in his record. I'm a strong supporter of him.
Thank you very much. Mr. Holmes, you want to continue with the consent agenda?
Oh, hang on. Joe Leggett. Hey, Joe. Joe, you're going to have to speak right into that thing, as you know. If you could
Sure. Good evening, everyone.
introduce yourself. And
Joe Leggett, West Boulevard, Nauset. And I'm kind of surprised I'm here this early, too. I only just put in that application about a week ago.
Listen, we're efficient, if nothing else.
I guess so.
The policy is when they come in, we get them on that third Tuesday as best we can. We try to move these things.
Okay, because I thought I'd have at least 2 months anyways, because I haven't even gone to a meeting yet.
Oh, that's okay. But we wanted to get the interview. We get the interview process done here as quickly as we can.
Okay.
So, if you wouldn't mind just telling the board what your interest in is on serving on the
Well, I'm currently on the Clean Water Committee and reading up on what the Conservation Commission does. It pretty much parallels my interests in, protecting natural resources and stuff like that. So I just want to keep on continuing going on that way. And I do have the time, and the meetings don't conflict, so there shouldn't be any problem at all.
Any questions from the board? Mrs. Winslow?
Mr. Leggett, you are a U.S. citizen, eligible to vote. Thank you.
Mr. Schneider?
I would just like to thank you for stepping forward to participate on another committee.
Mrs. Bagley?
Hi, Joe. How are you?
Hi.
So you haven't had an opportunity yet, since I think the date.
Tomorrow night will be the first one.
I don't know when the date on your application was, but
Last
it came
Tuesday.
in on the 11th, so it was just the timing, I think. So as Sandy Slavin had expressed some concern that you'd not attended and they didn't have an opportunity.
Yeah, I put
so
that
that
in.
wasn't your intention, was
Oh,
to
no.
just jump the gun. So have you ever attended any Concom meetings?
No. No, I've been just doing a lot of reading up on them and stuff like that, the prior minutes and stuff. And
So it was just a natural progression with your interest.
I've been
in
thinking about it for
conservation
about
and-
2 months. It's just
Okay.
I haven't had the time to get to the meetings and stuff like that. And then I think it just popped in my head when we were talking about cutting down trees down on Minor Forest.
Yes.
And then it just, bing.
Okay, great. So I'm sure, I mean, there isn't a whole lot that
And
we
it's for an associate, I believe.
Yes, I believe that there's just one associate
Mhm.
membership that's available right now. And
Anything
this-
else from the board?
I just wanted to add that this associate member is only till June of 2012, because the associates are it's to finish out the term.
And Joe, you know the schedule and the meetings, or when they're
Mhm.
meeting, right? So you're all set.
Yep.
Great. Well, thank you very much for your interest, and
Thank
we
you,
look forward
folks.
to
Thank you.
seeing you soon. All right. Next up is
Mr. Chair, we didn't get to the status conference for Captain
we're going to do that
Allison.
right now.
Oh, great. Thank you. Oh, okay.
Is Mr. Harrington here? Al? Yeah, come right on up. How you doing this evening?
Good, thank you. I'd like to start off with giving the board a copy of my...
If you could speak right, you have to get right on top of that thing.
I'd like to start off
and
with
make sure.
giving the board a copy of my application for the liquor permit and the actual license that was issued to me. The only thing I request is you don't share the date of birth with anybody.
How you doing?
Thank you, sir.
I'd like to explain why we closed when we did. In August, we had had a storm. October, we had a storm. And we had some substantial damage to our deck area. We had planned this winter anyway to remodel our bar area at the restaurant. And we had intended on, when we closed, to do that. We felt that the damage was so much we should address it right away. So we went over to the town hall. I went over to the town hall and I talked to the young ladies that worked there and asked them, should I submit a letter or how should I handle notifying the town that I was going to close? They advised me at that time to email, don't write a letter, just email us and tell the board what you wanted to do. We emailed the town, actually the secretary emailed the town and said we were going to close for remodeling and cleaning, I believe. But it also gave a date of March 20th or something like that, and that's the date we call our people back to work, so that really shouldn't have been in there. But there didn't seem to be any question at that time. I then went and obtained a building permit to address the damaged problems we had, plus the remodeling, which required a building permit for the to do the construction, to repair the place and remodel. That's basically what we're doing. That's the first part of my presentation to you, and next I'd like to talk to you about the license we obtained. This license, from what I understand, the town started, say, in 2007, probably even earlier than that, to obtain these above quota licenses. I don't even know if they knew what they were at that time. And that was prior to 2007. And they wanted to enhance the business community. They wanted to enhance people that had restaurants to get these year-round licenses. That was in 2007. But as time goes by, and as you all know now, the economy has changed. Things have happened. People have gone out of business. Well, anyway, back in, I think it was 2009 or 2010, town manager came to me and said, we are trying to get these above quota licenses through the legislature in Boston, and it would require, we're going to go try to get 8 of them. And would you be interested? And the conversation at that time was we were very happy with our seasonal license. We're right on the water, as some of you may know. We have a beach right on our property. We have a deck, and it gets pretty damn cold in the winter when the wind northeast starts coming in. So, but we felt that, you know, everybody is working so damn hard to get those licenses for the town, Mr. Andrews and Mr. Cruz, and we said at that time, yeah, we would be interested in that above quota. Having no idea at that time, and probably the town didn't either, that anybody would give it to you. But anyway, they came down and they did. So we met with I think all the people that were on the list. We all met with Mr. Cruz, your chairman, the town council, and Mr. Andrews, and we went over this problem for some of us. Some people didn't have a problem. We felt at that time and discussed. Now we say, well, what are we going to do? You know, in January, it's damn cold. There's no business anyway in January. How are we going to handle it? We like the idea of you people working so hard to get it. We don't want to have to go to Boston and say, now take them back. This was a legislative act by the state. The state senator, the congresswoman that represents this area, they all worked hard to get it. So we didn't want to lose that. So the information we received at that, and all the other people that attended that, was put down what you would be comfortable with. Put down on your application when you feel you would like to be open, or you don't want to be open. So we did. And if you'll see my application there, it says we at that time requested that we close from January to April. January 1 to April. Now, these licenses run $2,000. That's what it costs us. We have we said we would pay that whether we just felt it would be appropriate. The town's not going to be out any money on our part, Captain Al's part, because we would pay the $2,000 anyway to the town. So it's not a cost thing for the town. Not going to lose any money. So anyway, one thing leads to the other. We put it down, and they said, well, what we'll do is we'll take that before the board and see if the board will pass it. And the board at that time passed it, and then it had to go to the ABC, the Alcohol Beverage Commission in Boston, and they sent it up to the ABC. And the ABC approved it. So then it comes down to us, and here are your licenses. Now you got to realize we still only really wanted to have a seasonal license. Now if you look at my license for last year, 2011, this may be a misprint or whatever, but it does say in 2011 we should close November 30th. That was this past November. That's what it says.
Mr. Chair?
I'm sorry.
I don't want to interrupt Mr. Harrington, but I just want to clarify because I'm a little bit confused now. The license that you applied for in September of 2010 was a year-round license?
That's correct. A year-round above quota license.
But you were issued a seasonal license.
No.
That's what you attached to this, right?
That's not a seasonal license. It's an annual license with a date of November 30th. Now, we're perfectly happy with that. In short, what it is they issued us a year-round license under the above quota. We pay the $2,000. It's just that you can't transfer that license. That's the other problem. These above quota licenses were issued to the properties. So you can't say, well, we're going to give it to the guy across the street because Al doesn't want it. So it really puts a burden on the town and a burden on everybody that it's locked into that particular property. But then again, you don't want to go back to the state and say, geez, we made a mistake, couldn't you, because they had to get all these congressmen and senators and everybody to agree to pass the license. It's going to be very difficult to go back and say, take it away. That's the way I look at it. I may be wrong, and I know counsel's here.
Well,
I'm sure he will.
I understand that, Mr. Harrington, but I guess what is confusing me, and I think it would have confused me then too, is that except the January 1 date, because that would really be what the seasonals go through November, your application looks like it's for a seasonal license. And then the license that was issued to you does not appear to be a year-round.
The application doesn't say for an annual?
Well, it says common vic all alcoholic annual.
That's what it's for.
But that's I mean, I guess I'm just, and perhaps, Mr. Chair, Town Council should give us some.
I agree with you. I'm not disagreeing with you. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm not trying to. I just want to make sure that we're all clear and all on the same
well,
page.
What it is, could I just quickly throw this out to you? What I understood in the meetings I've had is that you people can amend anything you want. Now, years ago, you might not be able to, but it seems to be able to do it now. You could amend my license to read November 30th, and open April 1 by amendment. That doesn't mean you have to go back and cancel out what you did in Boston. That's my opinion, but I know this gentleman is paid far more than I am.
Don't be too sure.
He's above my paid grade too, which is why.
Mr. Bowman?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. Harrington, nice to see you again. Where to begin? Well, first of all, the license that Mr. Harrington handed out to you, as everybody has noticed, it was an application for an all-alcoholic annual license. However, as Selectman Winslow pointed out, it was for the period of April 1st through January 1st, really would be December 31st, which does look like a seasonal license. So you have a bit of a conundrum there, which is, can you issue an annual license and at the same time permit the license holder to be open for less than the full year? In effect, creating a seasonal license. And Kara, I think that's where you were going with it. And the answer is yes. The Board of Selectmen has very broad discretion when it comes to setting conditions of operation. It's completely up to you as to how you want to handle it within certain limitations. Now, those limitations are, for example, hours of operation. When you give a on-premises consumption liquor license, such as the one that Mr. Harrington has, he is allowed to serve alcohol as of right from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. He can apply for additional hours, 11 to 2 or before 11. So, for example, when you issued a liquor license to Mr. Harrington, you could not put a condition on that license that said, you may be open from noon until 9 p.m. because the license holder has an as of right from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. The other part of it is that in applying for an annual license, and in this case, Mr. Harrington had asked for April 1st through we'll say December 31st. Could you approve an annual license where he's put you on notice that he's going to be open, not open in January, February, and March? Yeah, if you want to, sure you can. Now, on the license that he handed around to you, there's a clerical error in this. It says about halfway through, it says this license expires on Wednesday, November 30th, 2011. Well, I mean, clearly that's a mistake, and the board could not issue a license that said he would have to close on November 30th, 2011, because it's an annual license. If he had asked for permission to be closed for the month of December, and if you would approve that, that's fine. But that's a question of Mr. Harrington asking for that, and you exercising your discretion to say, yep, that's fine. And it would not be inappropriate for you to give that kind of permission. Wareham is a community with a lot of seasonal trade in it, and if you chose to exercise your discretion in a way to recognize the fact that some times of the year are busier than others and it might not be profitable to be open during certain months, you could choose to do that. Similarly, you could choose to say, nope, we want you open all year. The people who tough it out all year, I mean, tough it out, it's a nice town. It's not that tough. But you know what I'm saying. You could take the position that we're giving annual licenses for you to be open all year. What I'm trying to say is you have discretion to make up your mind on how you want to handle these things. I hope that answered the question.
So just to, Mr. Chair, if you don't mind, so just so that I understand, when we approved that application and we did them all in one chunk, and just so the general public knows, these weren't, people didn't apply for these licenses and we picked who got them. They were pre-designated and agreed to. So it's, if we had denied the application, then the license wasn't available.
It would disappear.
It would disappear.
Exactly.
So as long as that's good, then, but that's what I wanted to be sure of.
Any other questions for the board? Mr. Snyder?
Mr. Chairman, I acknowledge that the application says 12 p.m. to 1 a.m. April 1st through January 1st. But I'm also looking at the license itself, and I understand, you know, that the hours during which alcoholic beverages may be sold is a permissive. But the way that it reads to me, Monday through Sunday, 12 p.m. to 1 a.m., serving stops 12:45 a.m., classes off 1 a.m., everybody out 1:15 a.m., conditioned alcohol served on premises / deck only, no beach or boating area, and noise on the deck area be appropriately monitored by management. I don't know, and perhaps Mr. Attorney Bowen can clear this up, but those appear to me to be conditions imposed by the Board of Selectmen. And if those conditions also allowed, you know, or allowed for a closing for an extended period of time, I would think that those that would be listed on that license as well, under the conditions on the granting of the license. You know, as I said, I acknowledge that what the application says, but from my standpoint, I wasn't sitting on this board when this license was initially approved, and I would like to, I'd like to have more information on this. I think that, you know, I'd like to know what the board actually voted, and I acknowledge that these are the pocket licenses, Mr. Andrews, from the state.
Mr. Chairman, yes, they are, and they are designated, per Member Winslow's point earlier, by specific zones, by address in the legislation which created them, which is Chapter 194 of the Acts of 2010.
And I certainly don't begrudge you for the liquor license. I guess where I'm coming from is, if you're really intending to only be open part of the year, I would think that a seasonal license would be more appropriate. And I would, you know, I'm sure that there are folks out there who would love to have a year-round liquor license, and I'm not sure, you know, if that can be the case. But in any event, I would like a little more information on this.
Mr. Andrews, could you explain to them about the region, how it's set up?
Yes.
Where the licenses are, certain areas?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, and I believe in council, I'm just looking at you, it would require a change in the special act that created the licenses by virtue that this, and we were held to the 8 licenses, and you won't be able to pick up another newspaper between that fall of 2010 and fall of 2011 and see this amount of licenses going to any one community, in my opinion. We studied this, we worked very hard. They might aspire to be congressmen, Mr. Harrington, but they're the state senator. Mark Pacheco and State Representative Susan Williams-Gifford worked very hard, and we got the legislative committee to look at the zones of the town where, if we were going to get to the next level of going from seasonal activity to full year-round activity, that would be able to get the right licenses to the right folks. So it would require a special act of the legislature to change it. It's not impossible. It would just, once again, tell the state that, you know, perhaps the situation might have changed at your establishment and we wanted to make some adjustment.
Mrs. Winslow?
Mr. Chair, just what I heard Mr. Andrews say and what I heard Mr. Schneider's concern were a little bit different. Mr. Schneider believes, rightly so, that there are many people, many businesses in the community that would seek a year-round all-alcoholic license. However, with this particular license, if this board were to have denied the license or were to take this license away from Mr. Harrington, and I'm not suggesting that's what we're going to do, sir, I'm just saying the license is gone.
I understand that, Mr. Chairman, through you. I understand that, and that's part of my concern. But my other concern is, you know, as I said, you know, and certainly, you know, I think that Captain L's is an important economic piece of the community, contributor to the community. But I guess where I'm coming from is, you know, as I said, and I don't think I quite got an answer from Attorney Bowen, the hours during which alcoholic beverages may be sold, those appear to be conditions imposed by the Board of Selectmen. If those conditions imposed by the Board of Selectmen don't specifically, you know, state a closure time frame, or does that have an impact on the license? It would, in other, and further, as I said, it would seem to me that any conditions that were imposed on this license by the Board of Selectmen would have been contained within that statement. So I would like clarification on that through the research at the through the town administrator's office.
With your
Yes.
permission, Mr. Chairman, the best practice would be to list all conditions on that blank, so it's absolutely clear to everyone when they come along and look at this license, which has to be displayed in a prominent place, so that anybody looking at it would know exactly what you were dealing with. You know, there are many problems with this particular license, and I'm not referencing Mr. Harrington. I'm representing the. I'm speaking of the particular form of the license, the incorrect date of expiration, for example. So I agree with what Mr. Schneider is saying, that all conditions approved by the Board of Selectmen should be reflected on the face of this document. I think you really have two things that you're dealing with. Number one is addressing how you want to handle these 8 licenses that came to you by virtue of special legislation. Some are open part of the time, some aren't open at all, and it's for you to decide whether that's a good or a bad thing. But then you have the separate issue to decide, perhaps through revised license regulations, on how you want to deal with folks that want to close up either on an emergency basis or due to vacations and so forth. So I think you really have two things that you want to address. That's it.
Mr. Harrington?
I'm always nervous when people talk and then they go, GL, but. It always sets me off. From the way I understood the license, and obviously town council, was that even if you say no to these licenses as a board, this is my opinion, even if you say no, the license is still there for somebody else to apply. Another person comes along, may buy my property, or may buy the property where that license is and apply, and then they could get it because it goes to the property, from what I understand. So the board could say, yeah, you know, suppose I got caught drinking at 4 a.m. You cancel my license. The license still stays there. I mean, the license, as far as the state goes, stays with the property. It's not thrown off the planet. That's one thing. The other thing I wanted to bring out is on all these licenses, it says 12 p.m. And like town council just brought out, it would be nice if it said 11 or 11:30. Especially on Saturdays, Bloody Marys in that morning are very important. And if you gotta wait, you gotta wait till noon time, it stretches it. We have a lot of people that come in around 11:15, 11:30, and we have to say, no, you can't come in until noon time. So if some changes are made, it certainly would help everybody with a license to put down 11:30 to 1, or at least say 12 noon. It says 12 p.m. I'm not sure if that's not midnight. So,
Mr. Bowen?
No, that'd be 12 a.m. But
thank you.
no, on the license conditions and the operating hours, it is a little troubling, and I'd be very troubled, except for the fact that Mr. Harrington asked for 12 p.m. to 1 a.m. And so what you voted and what's listed here, Al, it's exactly what you asked for.
That, got it.
Yeah, and you got it. So, you know, the board didn't steer you wrong there.
No.
But the law, what the law says is that when you get one of these licenses, you're, as of right, allowed to serve from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. Now, Al voluntarily gave up 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. I mean, 11 a.m. to noon. I'm not his lawyer, but if he came back with an application that said 11 a.m., you'd have to give it to him, because that's what Chapter 138, Section 12 says, 11 to 11 as of right. And then other hours outside of that are within your discretion to give or not give.
Any other questions from the board? Mr. Bigley?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, although this isn't an application for a license, so that's kind of not on the table, and this is not a show cause hearing. It's a status conference. I do have a couple concerns, and I may ask for a show cause hearing. The email that I received was dated October 23rd, and Captain Al's had been closed since October 11th, and it was just kind of like, FYI, we're closed from October 11th to March 20th. And the license that you asked for is from April 1st through January 1st. So that's a significant period of time, because you know, there's only, what, 10 days left in March, to do that little thing in my head. But then you've also closed mid-October. So that's 10 more weeks, which is a whole lot of time not to come before this board and just kind of explain the circumstances. My other question is, and we're certainly not making any decisions tonight, so have no fear. Did you also notify the police department that you were closed during that period of time?
No, I was told by the people at town hall, they notify everybody.
Mm-hmm. So they would notify the police department?
I have no idea. They told me they will notify everybody.
Okay, because when I was reading the policies around licensure, it's not that you just notify us, the Board of Selectmen, of a significant period of time of being closed. It's that you come in and have a conversation.
I wasn't aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of this stuff I wasn't aware of. That's
right.
the
It's an
problem.
unfortunate situation, and it seems to be more of inadequate communication. However, that said, there's certain channels and certain things that need to be done, and one of those things may be that the office needs to be informed that if it's more than a week or two for vacation, or even if they just send it to the board anyway and let us make that determination, that would be helpful.
I would have no problem. I wasn't aware of how to. That's why I went to
Mm-hmm.
town hall. Nobody said to me, "Here's how you terminate the thing." And You mentioned, did I inform the police? The only time we inform the police is in the summer, that when my people are leaving the place, so that the police don't drive through there and see the lights out or something and think something's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So we have been doing that religiously, or at least I hope they have.
Mm-hmm.
I think they have.
What, come
They
by
tell
and
me in the
making
morning
sure,
they
making
did.
sure that your place is all okay.
But I'm not aware of the, obviously, I'm sure I'm going to be told what the procedure is for closing and opening now.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much.
Any other questions, Mr. Holmes?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm glad Mrs. Begley pointed that out, because I think this may be even on the border of violating the rules here. This is not a hearing. We have town council sitting at a table. It has the appearance of a hearing, and it's not. And Al, thanks for coming in and trying to explain, because there were questions here about when we did the renewals of the license, what the actual story was. And I thought I heard you say when you opened your comments that in October there was some kind of a storm that did damage to the building, and that's when you went to town hall, was in October.
That's correct.
And that's why the extra time, because the building was unsafe or something. Did I hear you say that?
Yes.
I don't want to put words in your mouth here, but
No, that's what I
that
said.
was the time frame,
Yep.
and that's the additional time
Yeah.
that Mrs. Begley is speaking about, because there was damage to the building, correct? Is
The
that what
deck
you said?
area. Yeah.
Right. And you went to town hall,
Yes,
and
I
you
did.
asked the people
I got
what to
a
do.
for a building permit. Yeah.
And you did what they told you to do.
Pardon?
You did what the people in town hall told you to do.
Yeah,
That's
I
why
did what
you
they
go to
told me
town
to
hall.
do. They told me I had to get a permit. I got a permit. In fact, we're still in construction. So
Yeah.
Mrs. Begley?
Just some follow-up questions. Mr. Harrington, were you opened after that storm at all, or were you unable to open?
no, we didn't notice the damage until probably a week after the storm.
So you were open after the
Yeah.
storm. And so you immediately got a permit. You didn't start the work and were informed that you needed a permit.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
I started the work and I was informed to get a permit.
So you started the work and then you were informed that you needed
That's
a
correct.
permit.
Yep.
Okay, so you were opened after the storm and then you
No.
you were open just briefly after the storm until
Right,
you
right.
discovered damage. And then you started the work, but then you were informed that you needed a permit after that.
Right,
So then
because-
you went through the appropriate channels. So
no,
did you go into the selectman's office to get the information about your license, or how to say you were going to be closed?
And we went to the selectman's office first,
Mhm.
and were told to email.
Mm-hmm.
And then about a week later, the town building inspector came and said, you're going to need permits for structural work. So
I understand.
we went and got them.
Thank you very much for that clarification.
Any other questions? Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harrington. It was a very enlightening conversation.
Am I coming back for a show cause, or
We're going to take the matter under
we're
consideration.
going to do what?
We're going to take the matter under consideration. We'll get more information from Mr. Bowen.
What's that? Well, I'm trying to get out of here.
I don't blame you. Mr. Kane? Jimmy, are you here for AD? Jim, you know the drill.
Yes,
Talk
I do,
right
sir.
into that thing.
Good evening. My name is James Kane with the 80 Makepeace Company, and more specifically with Rosebrook Place Hospitality, Inc., an LLC formed for the strict purpose of holding the two licenses currently identified for 2474 and 2476 Cranberry Highway in Wareham. On December 28th, in response to a article in the newspaper, I had penned a memorandum to Mr. Andrews and asked that he distribute it to the board. And at the same time, when I brought it to the office, I was handed a letter from Shirley, signed by Mark, dated the same day, asking me to come this evening. So I hope any questions that may have been in the board's collective mind were answered through my December 28th memorandum, but in the event you have any others, this is the same basic scenario as for a variety of people in town. As a result of Chapter 194 of the Acts of 2010, 2 licenses were provided to Rosebrook Place Hospitality, LLC, for specific plate and parcel numbers at the area of Cranberry Highway around the old Lou Ave and the new Rosebrook Place. Those licenses physically remain in your offices. They are for the marketing of the property, which we are actively doing at this time. And hopefully when we land an appropriately credentialed organization, we will come back with them to this board seeking the transfer from the Hospitality LLC to the specific hotel, conference center operator or restaurant. I hope, hopefully that puts it in the picture as to where we are today.
Thank you. Mr. Begley?
Hi, Mr. Kane, thanks for your patience with us. I guess, given the unfortunate circumstance of the economy, I'm sure that you were hopeful that it would have moved forward a little bit more quickly. Is there anything on the horizon in the next couple of years, do you think?
I think so. I think it's worth noting that it was just this past summer that we received our permits through the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Yes.
And it was just several months prior to that that we received the signed legislation through the process as signed by the governor. So though I think this has been conversationally out there for quite some time, in fact the licenses came in a short period of time in terms of history, and we only had our actual permits this past summer. So we're actively working at the, shall we say, the availability of money for hotels is not at an all-time high right now. But we're working specifically with about a half a dozen regional flags that know the market, and we're all you can do is work it at this point. Nothing's easy any longer. Those days are long gone.
I understand. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Mr. Snyder?
Mr. Chairman, I did receive your letter, Mr. Kane, and I'm certainly appreciative of it. And from my standpoint, I think the previous conversation with the previous gentleman that was here cleared up a lot for me with respect to the pocket licenses. And you know, I appreciate your feedback as to the market conditions, and certainly wish you success in getting those filled.
Great.
I really have nothing else.
Mr. Winslow?
Thank you for coming tonight, Mr. Kane.
Anytime. If I can't be at my own meeting, I'd rather be at yours.
Mr. Holmes?
Yeah, well, while you're here, Jim,
Sure.
I just want to say that I had the opportunity to visit a surgeon in that building, the new building, a few weeks back. And
Sure.
my former employer in South Coast, in have done an exemplary first-class job in that building. I was really impressed when I went in there. And as you know, I visit a lot of hospitals all across the country, and that was just that's a first-rate medical building that you have there, and we can all be pretty proud of that. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I'll pass it along to the folks who worked very hard to have it become a reality.
Any other questions? No question?
You
All right,
might
thank
still
you
have
very much.
time
Have
to
a great
make your
evening.
meeting.
Bye now.
Bye.
Town administrator's report. What are they saving yours for last?
The evaluation.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
We still have we have a couple department heads here that are falling under Mr. Andrews' town administrator report.
Mr. Chairman, through you to the board and to the listening audience here this evening, Denise Medeiros will come forward, and I see Laurie Karanoff as well, to provide information on the winter programming at the library and the Love Your Library rally coming up, e-reader questions and answers, and symphony and tales, along with other fundraising activities, the Friends mini golf event, Foundation's annual appeal. Information also provided on the addition of 3 new library substitutes that we recently put on, and their role and an update on the tweens and teens grant that we were successful in obtaining. Director Medeiros.
Thank you, Mark. I'm glad to be here again. I'm hoping to come on a quarterly basis. I've been doing quarterly newsletters for the library, and I think it's really good for us to get the word out of everything that's been happening, because lots of things are starting to happen again, which is good. The first thing is the library rally. This is the second one we're holding. It's Saturday, February 4th from 10 to 1. And basically it's to promote not so much local funding of the public library, but state funding for public libraries. And right now the funding for public libraries statewide is, a lot of the accounts at the state level are at 1998 level funding, you know, which is, we're going on 15 years, that the monies given to public libraries from the state were higher than they are today. And yet libraries are getting used more and more, you know, in these economic times. So basically that's what this rally is for. We've invited through Mark Andrews, Senator Pacheco, and Representative Gifford. There will be entertainment. Showstoppers will be doing performances in the meeting room. We will have a visit from Frosty the Snowman. We are inviting guest readers, and everyone should have received a personal invitation to come and be a guest reader in our Storytime Pavilion that day. And we are also featuring, we did a little bit of it last year, but we're trying to expand this year on what we're considering local talent. We're really looking for people who have used the public library to, you know, create some kind of personal craft. For example, we have our quilters coming in are going to have a table set up. They use the library on a monthly basis, twice a month, to do quilting. They'll be there showing some of the things they have. We have musicians that will come in locally and be playing throughout the library during the event. The Girl Scouts will have a table because they use a lot of the library resources in getting their merit badges. The Garden Club has committed to having a table with our resources on gardening. So if you know of anyone, or if you yourself have a hidden talent that we might not know about, or maybe not so hidden talent that we do know about, please contact me. We'd love to have you. There's plenty of space because we're using the whole library itself. So the other thing I wanted to mention is our e-reader Q&As. We did a couple of them in October. Best Buy has partnered with us. They bring in e-readers. This time they'll be bringing in some tablets. They do a really good job of explaining which one might be good for you if you don't know a whole lot about them. And they also, it's supplemented by our own library staff of how you can go onto the library website and borrow materials for free through the library catalog. And that can get a little cumbersome. So what we also have set up ongoing is that people can schedule an individual appointment with Miss Laurie Kavanaugh, and she will actually sit down with you and go through and tell you how to get your equipment up and running with our system. Because once it's up and running, it's really easy, but sometimes just to get it there is difficult. So we're offering that. The other really special thing that's happening in March on St. Patrick's Day is in conjunction with the New Bedford Symphony Orchestra. We're doing a program called Symphony Tales. It's for kids from 4 to 7, and it's a way to get children introduced to classical music, but in a real fun way. It's going to be a miniature cello there that they'll be able to play. We are really going to be promoting that through the schools, too, to make sure that we get really good attendance for both of those programs. 2 of the fundraisers coming up in February. We have the mini golf tournament. We had one last year in February. It's the Sunday of February vacation week, the 19th from 10 to 4. The entire library is set up as an 18-hole golf course. There is a 19th hole that has refreshments. It's a fabulous day. It's a lot of fun. If you missed it last year, make sure you don't miss it this year. The foundation is having their annual appeal. You should have received something in the mail back in December. If you haven't, there are brochures at the library explaining what the foundation is and what its mission is and how it uses the support that it garners. I checked as of today, and we have received since July 1st $28,817 in donations to the library that helps support our programming and our book purchases over and above the town appropriation. So kudos to all the people who have helped make that happen. Substitute library assistants. We have 3 new people. They're starting training on Friday. We're really excited because having subs, we're going to use them similar to what the schools do. If someone is on vacation, if we have a special program. And I'm hoping that our children's librarian will be able to do more outreach outside of the building to get to some of the younger kids whose parents aren't bringing them to the library because they don't have that in their background. So the 3 people that are on will be there, cover the front desk and the basic functions while we can start to expand more and more what we're doing. So we have Phyllis Foley, Janice Fuller, and Mary Bro. They'll be coming in and getting trained and doing a 4-hour shift once a week, and then hopefully as we get more state aid money and possibly some town money down the road, we can expand that. It's a very cost-effective way for us to start to expand services. Then I'd like to introduce you to Lori Kavanaugh, because she's going to update you on the Tweens and Teens grant.
Hi, everybody. Before I start talking about the grant, I do want to mention that we do have a lot of teen volunteers at the library. They do their community service hours, and we have some teens from the cooperative school who come in. We have a lot of opportunities for community service at the library if there are any teens listening that would like to help us out. About the grant, recognizing that Wareham teens and tweens had few options for gathering spots or for free after-school activities, the library requested and received federal funding from the Serving Tweens and Teens Project Grant. It's administered by the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners to establish a welcoming space for Wareham youth in grades 5 through 12. Especially students from the Wareham Middle School who come across the street to the library in the afternoons. These youth have outgrown the children's room of the library, but coming in groups together as they do, sociable after a long day at school, maybe a little bit noisy as they come in, they turn the library into a bustling hive of activity most afternoons. It's great for us to be able to encourage these youth to be a vital part of the library community with a space designed especially for them. The public library is often the first place that young teens are allowed to go on their own. We look to adults in our library community to help us welcome teens who are still developing into the adults they will become by allowing for some good noise to happen in the library during the after-school hours, as kids come in to use the computers, read, study, or just meet up with friends whom they can't socialize with at school. There is an active teen advisory board in place at the library. Members have been working on helping us plan the teen area already. New members on the board are always welcome. We have budgeted some money for redecorating the teen area. Although we can't put in all new furniture or give it a total makeover with the funding that we have, the teens have been planning inexpensive ways to give the area a fresh new look that will appeal to their age group. Some of the $15,000 in total funding for the project over the course of 2 years is also going towards updating and adding to the collections of library materials for teens and tweens, including books, audiobooks, DVDs, and CDs. A big part of the project is a temporary teen services coordinator to supervise the library's teen area, to encourage appropriate use of it, to talk with teens to get their input, and to plan activities for the area. Our new Teen Services Coordinator is Amy Catabriga, who is here tonight to introduce herself to you. Amy?
Hi. Is this loud enough? Okay, good. I can't hear from here. As Lori said, my name is Amy Catabriga. I am the new Teen Service Coordinator. I grew up here in Wareham. I did most of that growing up at the library. In addition to this position, I work for the Wareham Public Schools as a special education paraprofessional, and I am working towards my preliminary license in elementary education. If anyone has any other questions about myself or the position, feel free to find me at the Love Your Library rally. I'll be there all day. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Denise. Thank you very much, and the entire library team.
Mr.
Appreciate
Chair, Mrs. Medeiros, can you just give the times for the Symphony Tales event?
The Symphony Tales.
Yes.
Everything is available. The newsletter is online at the WarehamFreeLibrary.org. But the Symphony Tales are Saturday, March 17th. One is at 11 a.m. and the other is at 12:30. And registration will begin on March 3rd. But this whole newsletter is available, obviously, at the library, but also if you go to the library website, you can download it. Okay.
This is just a comment. This is a great-looking document too. Very stands out, and it does have quite a bit of information in it about the library. And it's nice to see a document or a piece of literature coming out that is so eye-catching, particularly to draw in the teens and tweens into the library too, not just the adults.
And well, the hardest thing is to get everything in there before you print it, because there are actually two programs that are added that aren't even in the newsletter. One is kids doing pottery during February vacation, and Dr. Seuss's birthday. We left out Dr. Seuss's birthday on a Saturday in March. So.
Denise,
Thank
before you go, somebody asked me this week, and I thought about it too. You know the A+ program at the food stores? Does the library qualify for that?
I don't know. I'm not familiar with the
if you
program.
buy, if you go to Stop and Shop,
I try
you
to
register
avoid grocery
online,
stores.
and they take so much and give it to. I know I did school there, and there's a bunch of other educational pieces. Do libraries qualify for that? Do you know?
I'm not sure. I know I do it through Target, and Target is only public schools, but I'm not familiar with the grocery stores.
You don't get anything under Target?
So
I was just wondering about that. I'll have to look into that. But
Yeah.
thank you very much. I think
Thank
you do
you.
it. I didn't realize you were sitting there before, but I gave you a shout out.
that was
So,
very nice. Thank you. And I didn't mean to
honestly didn't know
usurp
you
your
were there, so-
announcements, but
Yeah.
you know.
We do our best to try to keep up to date with you, but you're always
Okay. Thank you.
moving ahead.
Thank you,
very
Denise.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Mr.
Mr.
Andrews,
Chairman.
if you want to continue.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, if I could bring forward Chief Richard Stanley and his team. Just an update that the board and the listening audience, members here in the audience, I should say, individuals, in an effort to reach out to Wareham residents and to further the goals of our community-oriented policing program and problem solving within the team of the Wareham Police Department. We've made a concerted effort to use social media tools to partner with people that we serve, and I'm going to turn it over to Chief Stanley and Sergeant Walter Carrier and Ed Johnson to give you the update,
Thank you.
Mr. Chief.
Members of the board, Mr. Chairman, and Mr. Andrews, with me tonight, I have two gentlemen who have been a tremendous asset to the Wareham Police Department and the community. I can't say enough for the effort that these two men have put into what you are going to see tonight. We had a vision, myself and Walter Carrier, as well as Ed Johnson, we had a vision about reaching out to the community. Now, at 56 years of age, when we hear about things like Nixle and Twitter and Facebook and all this stuff, let me tell you, I like to pick up the phone and make a phone call. But some valid points are out there, that there are in fact issues taking place on a daily basis that if we want to, as an agency, converse with all generations, that we need to do exactly what these men have been able to put together today. You are going to see an effort taking us right through, including the new website of the Wareham Police Department, and I'm going to have these guys take over. They made my job real easy tonight. You have to understand one thing, though, okay? As we go through this process, this is a bridge that leads to the next project that we have in store, which is intelligent-led policing. This project gives us the next step, which very few departments are doing. Walter, Sergeant Correa will touch on some of that, but it's intelligent-led policing, and it goes hand in hand with the Bureau of Justice Assistance, National Institute of Justice, and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, which will assure that you, as the leaders of our community, can tell your constituents, the voting public, that we are in fact spending every dime we have as effectively as possible by targeting problem areas in conjunction with our partners, the resident. Sergeant Correa.
Thank you, Chief. Good evening, Chairman Cruz, members of the Board of Selectmen, media and citizens here in the meeting room. My name is Sergeant Walter Correa with Wareham Police Department. Presenting with me tonight is Communications Officer Ed Johnson of the Wareham Police Department. And we're going to talk to you tonight, and I'm going to make it as brief as possible. Thank you very much. I know you have a busy agenda, and we'll try to move this along. I have 18 slides, and I was told to cut it down to 2. The first one and the last one.
Yeah, if you could. Otherwise, the people at home won't be able to hear what you're saying.
I forgot about the people.
Pull up a chair.
I'd prefer to move around, but we'll try it this way. Okay, we're going to talk to you about some of the social media that we now have in place, and as the chief said, we'll end with the introduction of the new Wareham Police website. I want to make sure that I clarify that the Wareham Police Department, as part of our community-oriented policing approach, as outlined by Chief Stanley previously, is in partnership with this community. And each and every one of these tools that we're going to talk about tonight, and other things that we're doing with that same mindset. Okay, as everybody knows, the social media is taken over in ways that I never would have thought would affect how we do business. So, with the times changing, with the ways people communicate changing, we must change. And we want to take every opportunity to communicate with our community. And we have to do it the way they communicate. First, going to talk about Nixle. Nixle started out as for public safety agencies to talk amongst themselves. Shortly thereafter, branched out to allowing citizens the ability to receive messages, text messages on their phone regarding issues in their community. Examples could be road closures to other more serious natured incidents. I want to talk a little bit, first of all, in the town of Wareham. Currently, for landline phones, we have the town's Global Connect, which contacts landline phones in the emergency, some type of hurricane or any type of emergency. It sends out messages to landline phones. Global Connect is a web application that also sends out messages to text phones, SMS. The second method in place for emergencies here in the town of Wareham is the Plymouth County Sheriff's Department's Code Red program. If you remember, previously they had a program of the same nature, but then that program, for whatever reason, went away, but then they came back with Code Red. So we have those two options. Nixle is another option for residents. They can sign up, as I said, and get text messages with different alerts. Ed, if you could go to the Nixle. Just to give you an idea, everything I'm talking about tonight is pretty much covered in the handout that we have. So anything that you may miss or I'm not clear on, it should be spelled out. Now, currently, these are some of the posts that we have. We can put out community advisories, cautions on Nixle. And these are some of the posts that we had that we'd have had put out previously, and then there's some, I believe, that were put out in the last couple days. You can move on. The next tool, I'm not going to talk too much about this because I think everybody knows what Facebook is. The Wareham Police Department is now on Facebook. Okay, and at the urging of Chief Stanley, I was asked to look into Facebook as a possibility for the Wareham Police Department. And to my surprise, when looking into it, I found out that there were many more police agencies here in the Commonwealth that were already had Facebook accounts and were active on Facebook. I created the account. I put a picture and maybe one post, but it was Ed Johnson who took that Facebook page and made it into what you see today. And he's done a lot of work with this. Ed Johnson is our liaison for social media. So if anybody ever has any questions regarding social media at the Wareham Police Department and what we're putting out, Ed Johnson will be the person to see on that. And he did a great job putting all the pictures and setting this up. I'm going to move on quickly to Twitter. Everybody knows what Twitter is. We now have Twitter at the Wareham Police Department, and we're posting information through Twitter, and we can receive information. Twitter, as I see it, I think is going to be the model for the future for police agencies. Think about a Twitter application that's in-house that a police department could have to send out call information to the sector officers, but also to everybody in the department. Or how about sending out call information that goes to everybody in the nearby policing the towns and everything. I think you're going to see Twitter, that model. I want to let you know that Twitter and Facebook will help the citizens of Wareham by allowing us to get information out as quick as possible. Picture of a missing child or somebody, a suspect that we're looking for, we can, at the moment's notice, get that information out. And these are some of the ways we're going to use this. And also, it's going to allow us to get feedback back from the citizens. Okay, the next we're going to talk about is Text-a-Tip. Again, at the urging of Chief Stanley, I was requested to check into Text-a-Tip. It came from, I believe it was Officer Carl Baptiste, who's now the school resource officer, that learned about it first, mentioned it to the chief, and then brought it to me. And essentially, Text-a-Tip allows people to send us tips anonymously. Okay, one of the problems in policing is that we need help. We can't be everywhere. We'd like to, but we can't. We need the public to help us, and Text-a-Tip is a way for the public to do that while keeping their name out of it. And if you go back to the presentation, I think I have a quick.
This is an application called Tip Submit. It allows the public to securely and anonymously send crime information to law enforcement agencies or Crime Stoppers programs. It also allows the public to submit information about school-related incidences to local school authorities. There are 5 buttons along the bottom, guiding tipster through the tip submitting process. The first thing a tipster needs to do is to select an agency, either manually or automatically. From the going to select manual, and then I have to decide whether this is a community tip or a school-related tip. I'm going to select community, and then I'm going to select the country, the state, the city, and then the agency. So here I would be submitting a crime tip to Denver Crime Stoppers. I can also automatically locate an agency. This agency at the top is a few miles from my current location. The next thing I can do is enter a password. So for a tipster, you enter a password, and this protects your tips and keeps people from viewing the confidential information that you have submitted. Next, a tipster would fill out this mobile tip form where they give the type of offense, suspect information, vehicle information, and a description of the crime. So as an example, I'm going to play the role of a tipster, select a crime type from the selection wheel, enter test, since this is a test tip. Notice down here at the bottom that I can include a photograph from my gallery. I have a picture of a suspicious vehicle. Zoom in on that a bit, include that one with the tip. When I hit submit tip, it takes that image and the text that I've entered and securely and electronically transmits this to the agency. Then it provides me with an alias, a code word, N100-29. This allows me to remain anonymous. Notice here I'm on the last button now with view and chat. You can see that I have a number of test tips that I've already submitted. I can open up a chat window by selecting one of those tips. You can see my original tip is here and a reply from the agency. I can add follow-up information such as just some test information, or if I happen to be at the scene of the crime, I can also select send current location. It asks me if I'm absolutely sure. I say yes, and then I say that I'm here, and hit submit. So this sends not only the text, but also the coordinates that my iPhone is at. What I'm going to do now is pull up an application called TipSoft on my PC off to the side here. So I'm pulling up this tip, playing the role as the agency, and I'm going to type into this chat window the words thank you. And I'm going to hit the send button right now. And what you'll notice here, the tipster will see in just a few moments the word thank you on the screen.
Okay, just so you know, and that goes on for a little bit more, but in the interest of time, we'll stop it there. Just so you know, the text-to-tip has been in effect just about a year, and we have been receiving text tips regarding specific cases of drug dealing in which they've given suspect information, vehicle information, type and color. We've received information regarding domestic violence, parking complaints, and suspicious activity. And very recently, we got a web tip. And just so you understand, with this text-to-tip, web tip, text-to-tip is when you use your phone. If you're using your computer, it's a web tip. But all of this, the beauty with social media is you can use your phone, texting, your computer, all to do the same kind of thing. And a lot of the, just recently we were looking for a subject, and we weren't sure where he was, and the other day it hit my phone that we had a new text-to-tip. I looked into it, and it was the party that we were looking for and gave the exact location and apartment where that subject might be. So I think you can see the usefulness of text-to-tip. I think even more importantly, and it hasn't really been introduced into the school yet, I'm sure that there's got to be some dialogue that has to happen among school officials and the police department, etc. But I think this would be a very powerful tool for kids in school. And as we all know, there's only a small portion of problem kids, and it's our duty to make sure that we use every tool we can for the vast majority of the students who are going to school and want to learn. And we want a safe environment for them to learn. So I think that once this is implemented in the school system, I think it's going to be very helpful. Okay, I'm going to move on really quick. This next application is called My Police Department, and it was an application developed by Detective Peter Olson of the Peabody Police Department, who recognized the potential of social media in law enforcement and created this application which allows members of the community to use their cellular phone to communicate with their local police department. Wareham Police Department is now part of MyPD, and if you have an Android phone or an iPhone, you can download the free app called My Police Department, and then once you set yourself up, you choose the list of active police departments in Massachusetts that are using it, and Wareham is now one of them. And this tool is going to give, and Ed's going to the website here, this tool is going to give the person with a smartphone, iPhone or Android, the ability not only to get information from the police department, but they can send information. The application will allow you to send a comment to the chief. You can make a complaint against an officer. You can ask questions and get feedback from this application. Plus, it also allows you to basically report non-emergency type crimes. And I want to emphasize the social media is for non-emergency type of incidents that you want to report.
And no texting while driving.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm going to move on, and the next, as Chief Stanley had mentioned, next we're going to move into crime reports and crime mapping. This particular company has several different tools that they're offering. You can go next. Crime mapping is very interesting because it's allowing citizens of Wareham to register with this site, then go and look for crimes that have happened on their street or in the town of Wareham. And how it works is crime reporting connects up to our police department's records management system, read-only of course, and extracts limited data about crime and where these crimes happen. If you could just let me sign in there.
What a great tool. Remember, if you ever, especially you as members of the Board of Selectmen, when in fact people ask you questions about something happened in my neighborhood and you can refer them to the site, or if someone wants to move into a neighborhood and they want to look to see what's happening because rumors are out there, there's so many crimes, now factually the citizens get to see exactly what's going on.
There's two parts to this tool. There's the public side, which is crime reports. I'm going to go to now. And when this loads up, I'm going to show you what the public's going to see. This particular, we haven't made this live to the public. We wanted to show you tonight, and shortly thereafter we're going to make this live. But you can go to incident layers. So say I want to learn about breaking and entering. All these icons represent one of those things. And you can have a date range. Say we want to go back 7 days or 30 days. You can do that, and all the areas will show. You click on the B, you know that's a breaking and entering. It'll tell you the general location of where it happened. And I can tell you right now, this is very accurate because we've been getting a lot of breaks in the area of Highland Road area, and it's representative of that. The T is for theft, and this one was very recent. Anything that has multiple folders probably means that there was some type of incident there. In this particular case, it was a robbery, armed robbery, and then the person would also there was a charge of assault with a deadly weapon. So this tool is going to be very important going forward. And the other part of it, and I want to just grab this real quick. Is Command Central. Now this is what the chief was talking about. I'm going to suggest to you that Command Central will change a lot about how we do what we do. And it's going to be a useful tool in moving into this predictive policing. Some of the things I'll show you real quick. Not only, as far as roll call, we will be able to pick, as I stated before, a date range. Maybe it was during the shift, maybe it was the last week, and actually produce a document for our offices going out into the street that will show what's around them in their sector, what's happened in their sector over the last few days. You go on days off, sometimes I come back and I find out, this, and this happened. We are going to bridge that gap, and we are going to have roll call sheets that are going to have the active crimes. And again, this is, you can get into a whole lot more on this side. This is going to be from the police side. This is going to work us towards the predictive policing. And also, one of the things I wanted to talk about, Command Central is going to help us. You can go back to is going to help us with data-driven approaches to crime and traffic safety, also known as DDAX. DDAX is a law enforcement model that integrates location-based crime and traffic data to establish effective and efficient methods for deploying law enforcement. And this is almost, and this is courtesy of Chief Stanley, this is almost groundbreaking. And I think that the use of Command Central by the Wareham Police Department is going to help us in this area where we can chart out traffic stops, motor vehicle accidents. So once you put those on a map and you see where this data, where these accidents have happened, you can then determine possibly future problems in certain areas based on information that you've obtained. And as we all know, in these times of shrinking budgets, with the do more with less mentality, being effective and efficient is more important than ever. It's also going to take us into intelligent lead policing, which is a strategic, future-oriented, and targeted approach to crime control, focusing upon the identification, analysis, and a management of persisting and developing problems or risks. There's going to be more to come on this particular. We're going to move on, and I'm going to skip the video. I just want to get you to have a look at the Wareham Police Department Communication Center. Just so you know, these social media tools are going to be accessible right there in our communication center. Up on the wall there's 3 55-inch monitors. The first one on the left there has the Facebook. The second one has crime reports. And this is going to give a visual to the people working in the command center. Say we got breaking and entering, other types of crimes that occurred on the last shift. They're going to have a visual right in front of them. So this is very exciting. And by the way, this is the brand new communications center that was revamped, brand new radio system, which Ed Johnson was very instrumental in developing. Okay, and we're going to talk about the new Wareham Police website. And I do want to say that all the tools that I've mentioned are all in this website as well. You can get to text-a-tip, you can get to web tips from our new website. Our new website is content-based, meaning you don't have to call up the computer guy and have him upload, or the company that's hosting your site, and upload this, and this. We're going to, at the Wareham Police Department, we're going to be able to do that ourselves. And we're going to, more importantly, do it when we need it, which is right away half the time. So we're very excited about that. This is our current Wareham Police site that, although it may, look kind of plain, it does have a lot of information. And we are going forward with some of the benefits of this site. This new Wareham Police website is not gone live. We wanted to show it to you tonight, and we plan to go live within the next couple days. And that's the site.
Who's that in the picture?
I believe Officer Henderson. That's one of the brand new cruisers. We got some Bill Philman, very helpful with some pictures beautiful pictures of Wareham. And there's a welcome message from Chief Stanley. And I want to point out, just recently we had an armed robbery at Pepin's. And this is the kind of thing that we're going to be able to get up on the website immediately, as fast as possible. And it'll be a good tool for the communications officers when somebody calls up and wants to know more information, or do you have a picture I can look at, or we can direct another police department to go to our website and get the information. So I think that's very, very, very useful. And yeah, and some of the, of course, the mission statement, organizational chart, breakdown of the Wareham Police Department with links. If you click on somebody's name, you're going to be able to send them an email. So it's a good way, it's a good useful tool for people that want to get in touch with us, and for people to know who we are. And a lot of times, you know, you might know a face, but might not know the officer's name. So that should be helpful. Other areas of the website, we talk about the different divisions. Operations Division headed by Commander Lieutenant Kevin Walsh. And basically it'll just talk brief mission statement regarding the lieutenant and operations. And you'll be able to contact, all the contact information is there. We also have administration, Commander Lieutenant John Walsek, criminal investigations, Sergeant Detective Jacinto, and we invite everybody to go through this at your leisure. We're not going to have time to go through it tonight. Yeah. One of the things you'll be able to report a crime, and it's going to take us right back to the same tools that we talked to you about earlier, and that's web tip, text to tip, etc. And I'm sorry if I had to run that along, but I know you got a busy schedule.
This is fabulous. I think technology is the key. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, if I could just also point out, the chief and his team have worked very hard to bring really community policing to another level within cyberspace, or whatever you want to call it. And I think that's an important asset. I want to thank you, Chief, and your entire team for a great presentation.
Yes, thank you. And I just wanted to point out that with us is also Lieutenant Kevin Walsh, Operation Division Commander, who was an integral part of this, and Lieutenant John Walsek. So it has been a team approach. And Mark, surely your vision on putting in the new computer systems between Town Hall and the Police Department has been instrumental. The old outdated stuff wouldn't have been able to drive this type of thing, so we appreciate it.
Great. Thank you, Chief. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief.
Mr. Chairman, if I can move on item B. Yep. On item B, I'm really just going to remind the board on B that we're applying for, with SERPED, the Southeastern Regional Planning and Economic Development District, Mr. Ross Perry, for an application through a program that I described several months ago. It's a new state program called Challenge Innovation Grants, and it's in the area of permitting. And I'd like, if I could, to ask for an endorsement from the Board of Selectmen.
Mr. Chair, it says that we need to make a vote, but I just looked through the packet. Is there a particular motion that Mr. Andrews needs, or is it just
to support the application we're making, through you, Mr. Chairman.
So I would make a motion that we support the application to the Southeastern Regional Planning and Economic Development District for the grant applications that will be submitted for e-permitting for building permits, e-burning permits, e-storage permits for flammable and combustible materials, and E26F inspections for smoke and carbon monoxide detectors.
Second.
Motion made, second by Mike. Any other questions? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? 500.
Mr. Chairman, to move along here, staff's report on ongoing projects. I have been in communication with Senator Pacheco's office on Article 48. Tomorrow evening, there'll be a joint meeting presentation on the budget. I also will be asking each of the members of the Board of Selectmen to meet with Mr. Sullivan and myself and other financial staff on the budget going forward as submitted. And the Town Hall virtualization project is moving forward from my last update from Mr. Underhill. That concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you very much, Matt. Any questions from the board? Hearing none, we'll move right along, Mr. Holmes.
Mr. Chairman, thank you, Mr. Clerk. I'm proud to present to you my fiscal 2011-2012 achievements as my self-evaluation. I want to thank the board for helping me on all aspects of this report. You've had it in your board packet, and if I could just run through it, Mr. Chairman, in an expeditious way. We did create a fiscal recovery plan. That recovery plan produced the results of having a new town accountant position filled. We set the fiscal 2012 tax rate when many thought that could not be accomplished. We worked to secure a clean, unqualified audit opinion that left in the general fund a balance of $309,000, subsequently, and in your packet, certified by the Mass Department of Revenue as free cash for fiscal year ending 2011. We worked with Mr. Cole, Justin Cole of Bay State Municipal Accounting. I want to thank Member Holmes and our council for moving that along. And I have initiated already a review of the first 6 months of this fiscal year so that we can get a clean look at what's happening in fiscal 2012 as it pertains to the review by Powers and Sullivan. We'll be preparing for that from, once again, July 1st, 2011 through December 31st, 2011. We have a unified budget process. When I first came here, there were budget forms flying all over the place. We have a new budget process that's identified by the Finance Committee. We held a workshop with them on January 11th to go over each department's needs. Each department was urged to present their budget plan in a comprehensive way, in an aspirational form. We've also worked to complete budget instructions so that individual departments actually understand the difference between operating and capital budgets. We put together and encouraged department heads to take responsibilities for their budget. It's a little different when you actually have to sign something and put your name to it, and that's what they're required to do. We drafted specific timelines for department heads to come through that process for fiscal 2012 and fiscal 2013. I outlined new responsibilities for department heads to think strategically, to go after grants that actually can combine resources between departments and maximize our resources for the fiscal year going forward. We retained a qualified, and I might say professional, very professional individual in Peter Sanborn, who has guided us through a very difficult time, but a productive time. We received the maximum award from the state through our mini entitlement program for our community development block grant funding. We enacted and put in place a number of review committees that made up stakeholders in your local government. That provided for review committees and from postings between last January and this December. We hired a full-time chief of police. Presentation a couple minutes ago, outstanding, Chief Stanley. We hired a new animal control officer. If you can make, there was a typographical error, I apologize. We hired 5 new police officers and 2 transfers from a local town. We hired a financial analyst. We hired an assistant assessor and data collector. We hired a director of assessment. We hired a new head reference librarian for our library and a library assistant on top of that. We hired 2 operators and municipal technicians for our water pollution control facility. We hired a new laborer. We hired a deputy harbor master and shellfish constable. We held regular meetings with the finance committee to further bolster our working relationship with an important body here in town. It created a more effective and streamlined level of communications. Many of you, including you, Mr. Chairman, have been to the meetings recently. There's a noted new spirit, esprit de corps going forward. In item 2, I tried to mirror last year's evaluation, so if you pulled it out, if you have it, if not, I'll provide it to you. You can see where we've made further advancements. And we review the organizational effectiveness of the town operations and use resources more effectively. And that includes building a leadership team that has input to ideas and concepts, fosters greater accountability between departments. We settled, going back to fiscal 2007, 9 out of 11 contracts. There are 3 left. 1 unit is a combined unit, the U.S. Steelworkers, and 1 unit is a very small unit at the library. We hope to make advancements on that front, so it will be 11 out of 11. We've initiated already negotiating sessions with our collective bargaining units so that we can get caught up to speed and be actually ahead of the curve with regards to fiscal 2012, 13, and 14. This further reduces the town's overall financial liability, which would otherwise show up on our financial statements. We're also planning and working on administrative procedures that enhances fiscal responsibility. And once again, I mentioned the collective bargaining sessions that we've already begun in fiscal 2012 with respects to the outstanding contracts for this fiscal year going forward. We have held and outlined a number of aspects in the financial management action plan, which we're updating with the assistance of Bay State Municipal Accounting. I hope to get that to you for the next meeting. So all of the elements of the management letter are included in this financial action plan. We've worked to upgrade a number of areas. Just to point out one not startling statistic that caught my attention, we upgraded the senior nutrition program with a $2,000 grant from United Way, bought some new freezers. We have, in this past year, brought into town 3 tons of food between last January and this December. We hope to enhance that further. And then, by the way, through mostly volunteer workers that have helped us out through the Council on Aging. We've managed municipal operations building upon the highest level of honesty and ethics. We developed a program called Take Pride in Wareham, utilizing donated labor to clean up Town Hall. If you haven't been to Town Hall, walk the corridors and tell me what you see. Shining floors, polished brass, woodwork is clean. We kept bi-weekly departmental leadership teams, went to a bi-weekly, as was mentioned at my last evaluation, that give more ability to the department heads, the leadership team, to make their choices. I've tried to do that, and we'll get to that level at the end of the presentation. We've included ethics seminars provided by Town Council, open meeting law implementation and updates, planning and departmental 53G account seminars, workers' compensation program that lowered our insurance at the town level. We've brought in public safety through, I'm very proud to say that I know a number of members of this board. I know Chairman Cruz joined me last spring when Town Police Department was certified as a department going forward, building forward to get to full accreditation. Only 33 cities or towns have accreditation level status. And next Thursday, I believe, Mr. Chairman, we'll be attending the 26th, a meeting at the Andover Country Club. I'm not sure if Chief Stanley had anything to do with that, but we'll be attending that ceremony with 11 new communities that will be inducted into this elite class of public safety departments. And what does that mean? That means when we apply for a grant, Mr. Chairman, that we are put in a different limelight for gaining grant status, but because we have those policies and procedures in place, and that certification, once again, led to accreditation. And this is, once again, only the second town in Plymouth County to achieve this distinction. The Wareham Police Department won the bronze medal for their AAA traffic safety. The Police Department Traffic Enforcement Team has been very aggressive. We'll be bringing forward something called Team 3, Engineering, Enforcement, and Education. We're working to build upon our emergency medical dispatching upgrade for our Community 911 Center. We have an emergency management certification process that will take us into hurricane planning season this spring and early summer, hopefully with a upgrade and better preparedness going forward. And we used interns from Mass Maritime to accomplish this, in part. Major public safety community outreach programs, as the chief has brought that on board. Once again, certification attained last year, 3 new cruises approved at town meeting, the 5 new hires, and the 2 lateral transfers bolstering our police department. We fought for public safety grants for 2 new ATVs, new equipment at no cost to the town. We received justice assistance grants, JAG grants, and E911 grants in that process. We've worked to build upon our nonprofit management and fiscal affairs through the memorandums of understanding that people are actually using as I speak. We established better communications with state government and our representatives, monitoring the process. Mr. Chairman, I hope by the end of this week we'll get some word from the governor on what the local aid resolution will tell us about local aid for cities and towns as we further build the fiscal 2013 budget. We've maintained leadership team accountability. They need to notify me when they're not in the building. They need to let me know what their schedule is. They're required to give us pre-approval for time off. The town administrator now signs all the timesheets for all the department heads in the town. We reinforced our ethics questionnaire requirement and assured compliance through our leadership team, and held a boards and commissions seminar so that all of the boards and commissions were updated on this past September 15th. In item 3, once again, keeping to the template from last year, we've enhanced our internal and external communications so that residents understand what is actually happening in their town government. Along with weekly leadership team meetings, the full body, we established bi-weekly meetings. I have had my open office hours in place. I've eclipsed 230 open office hours where the general public can come in and talk to me. 2 quick examples. Town Hall foyer, Mr. Bob Voss came in to see me and asked me about where are the veterans' plaques? Where'd they go, Mr. Andrews? And we were on a journey at that point. I see Frank Bergamasco and Glenn Barrows in the back. With their help, capable assistance, we found out where those plaques were, and we enhanced them. Joe Edwards worked on the woodwork. We got the plaques up. It might seem like a small thing to people. That is now a showcase foyer for our auditorium, which I have other plans for going forward. One other area that individuals have come in to speak with me about is to be able to understand what happened. So on every Wednesday morning, most of the time, we're producing something called Your Town Administrator's Report. I haven't got a call from Hollywood yet, but I'll tell you this. It tells what's going on in town, good, bad, or indifferent, and that's complemented the program of trying to communicate on an external basis with regards to the open office hours. We kept the lifeguard program in place. We put capital improvements. Part of what you saw up on the screen was $200,000 invested in our public safety communication system, which was voted on and approved at town meeting and put in place shortly thereafter. I've worked with the Oak Grove School Cultural Center. It's been a pleasure. And let me tell you, we're going to get that program to fruition shortly. We've worked with the onset business associations and other neighborhood groups. We put in place, might be getting a little bit ahead of myself, 15,000 linear feet of new pavement in town. That's triple what we have done in the past. And that's based on a 29% increase in the Chapter 90 funds from the town, and we're out there working that very hard. I've worked with the Board of Selectmen. You know, sometimes you need to really take a step back and celebrate what's happening. We went through a series of proclamations. I've worked closely with Jackie Lindsay and other members that have been recognized tonight. We work with the 911 committee to put that program in place. We recognize families at a civil service ceremony in my office that brought the families in because they had to give up a lot of time when their loved ones went off to the boot camp to get their academic standing, and we recognize the families in that effort. Working with Member Winslow and others, the Spirit of Christmas Awards went off marvelously this past year. I thought people really got the whole spirit of it. Wanted to mention that as well. Numerous proclamations from the Board of Selectmen I've been happy to work on. Areas of improvement, time management is still there. I guess I'll probably have to say, I'll see anybody anytime, but really steering people towards Thursdays because I am trying to set solid goals for setting timelines up and meeting schedules so that we can become more effective at that. Working with leadership team meetings, I think we've solved a lot of issues. We had individuals come before this board talking about neighborhood cleanups, and that's gone forward in a very positive and I think respectful way with regards to Wareham Brightside and other efforts that have welled up through our neighborhoods. We've encouraged residents to, once again, participate in office hours and delegating tasks more directly to department heads. Once again, this is a work in progress, but I will keep it up. And I will reevaluate weekly my schedule to get the best bang for the buck. We restructured the Board of Selectmen's office recently, welcomed Rebecca Figueroa back to the office to help us with some of the minutes and typing and some of the work in the office. And that was done through the senior work-off program, and she's also back on a part-time basis. I've reviewed with staff education and training needs. I see a number of directors and leadership team members in the audience. Director Campina has recently gone through the public procurement statute through the Inspector General's office and other types of training through our insurance agent. We've addressed and solved problems in a timely manner. We've prevented issues welling up through citizens' participation. It's really not going to get worked out here at this level, Mr. Chairman. It's going to get worked out at the departmental level.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, excuse me, Mr. Andrews, I'd like to make a motion to go beyond the hour 10 for the purposes of completing the town administrator's evaluation for FY 2011 to 2012, which is item number 6 on the agenda, and for the purposes of addressing item number 10 under sore business, item A, Town of Bourne, FY 2012 capital costs.
Motion made. Second by Steve. Questions?
I'd like to finish the agenda, Mr. Cruz.
Mr. Chair, I made the motion.
I know you did. We had a question. She made a question. Now I'm going to call for a vote, and then we're going to vote on it, and we'll see where we're going to go. All in favor to go until we do town administrators and number 10A, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
No.
Okay, 3-2. So motion made. We finished town administrators.
And I apologize for interrupting.
And sewer business A. Continue, Mr. Andrews.
Yes. Mr. Chairman, we created a mobile open door policy where we've actually went out to different village businesses.
Excuse me. Yeah, right. Mr. Andrews?
Mr. Chairman, we went out and visited businesses as they continue to grow in town. The Rosebrook Business Park. I think they actually called the police on us as we were going through there without the proper safety equipment because we were very happy to see structural steel turned into a mecca of medical office building and office space, complemented by hundreds of new jobs and additional value to our commercial industrial business base. I've worked with the legislative delegation, might need some fine-tuning, but the 8 additional liquor licenses was something that we worked very hard on as a board, and that I tried to work the best I could to get passage of that new law. Once again, we worked on reports of various town activities. We've given residents the opportunity to come in, no appointment necessary in my open office hours, and we've worked to better utilize space at Town Hall. That includes the new land use area, including planning, conservation, and zoning. And we've reorganized the board office to a certain degree. We've also conducted systematic business and education outreach programs, including the seminal activity coming up later in March, Wareham Works 2012, Wareham Works 2011. I thought was a huge success, where we brought in various federal, state, and local business-supported activities and resources, and we've continued to work on Cranberry Commons Task Force with regards to the development of that site, which was identified and worked on through a tragic fire. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my self-evaluation report for the board this evening.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, and the presentation was good and to the point, and I appreciate it, and I appreciate all the hard work you've done. We have any questions from the board?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question related to procedure. In the vote that we just took, I would like clarification specifically. What exactly is your understanding that we just voted on? Because I'm unclear on it.
Okay, we voted to go past the hour of 10, to continue with Mr. Andrews's evaluation. Okay, the evaluation that he presented. Okay, and to go into Article number 10A. And then that was it.
So we're not going to complete...
10A is the Town of Bourne FY 2012 capital cost.
So we're not going to complete the town's business. We're not going to sign any documents approved by this board, and we're not going to go into executive sessions to discuss contract negotiations with non-union personnel. I just want clarification.
Well, just clarified. We're going to go to what we just said we were going to do. So the evaluation of Mr. Town Administrator, I accept it as he presented. And how does the board feel about it? We'll start from the left hand and work right around.
Mr. Chair, last year, and I said something to this effect last year, we got the self-evaluation and then we all kind of just threw our 2 cents in. I'd really like to see the board take this self-evaluation and develop a scoring process so that we can each sit down and decide if we feel it's deserving of a 1 or a 10 and average out the score and give them a score. I think that's the only real fair way to conduct an evaluation. I don't think it's fair, quite frankly, to Mr. Andrews for each of us to sit here and put out there what we think, the good and the bad is. I think that's not advisable. So my suggestion would be that we take this evaluation under advisement and that we develop some way to score this so that we can provide him with an appropriate evaluation of our own.
Mr. Snyder?
Mr. Chairman, I actually had prepared some written comments because I wanted my comments to be clear to both Mr. Andrews, this board, and the townspeople. I do agree wholeheartedly that there should be a scoring system with respect to this, with respect to the items that the Board of Selectmen assigns to the town administrator, because I think it's unfair that there's no sliding agenda, particularly when the town administrator's evaluation has tied to it a salary component. And I assume that, and you can certainly feel free to correct me, Mr. Chairman, I'd like clarification. Is that something that we'll be voting on tonight?
When you say voting on what?
Voting on the bonus component of the self-evaluation for the town administrator.
Well, if we're going to do an evaluation, are we going to do it tonight? And we'll just suggest that we score it. He gave his presentation. We heard his presentation, which I thought it was a real good presentation. The contract calls for, on the 3rd year, for him to get a raise of X amount of money. So that, to me, is automatic. Now, the evaluation process, I think what you're alluding to is the 3% above and beyond. Right now, we can go right through the board, and I think if we want to make a motion to have a favorable opinion, I think the report was favorable. I think it was good. We do have a contract, and I believe in sticking to a contract. But that's my opinion, just like you had your opinion. And if you're going to score it, it sure wouldn't be tonight, I don't think. Unless we take a vote on the favorable, and if it doesn't get a favorable, which I think it should, we can go from there. And if you want to have another meeting later on to post a meeting, we can schedule that.
Mr. Chair, just for clarification, Mr. Schneider is discussing the element of the contract which states, at the sole discretion of the board and subject to appropriation, Andrews may be awarded an additional 3% salary merit increase in either or both of the second or third years of this agreement. Said merit increase shall be for exemplary performance as determined solely by the board based upon its review of the town administrator's performance. So that tells me that the board as a whole has to review the town administrator's performance and determine that it's been more than merely satisfactory or favorable.
Well, just to respond to that, Mr. Chairman, I think that from my standpoint, that's what this process was. You know, we have a self-evaluation. We're commenting on the self-evaluation, and and we would be commenting whether or not it was favorable or not. That's my standpoint. We need to get clarity in these agendas, because I know that I'm very confused at this point.
Okay. Mr. Bigley?
To clarify, for compensation, if this is a satisfactory evaluation, in the third year of Mr. Andrews' contract, he gets 3%. Because the third year of the contract demonstrates that. I think that the 3% that Selectman Winslow is referring to is an additional 3% merit increase. Am I correct in reading this contract? It says in the third year of this agreement, Andrews shall be paid.
Correct.
So that's the increase.
Correct, Mr. Chair, if I may respond.
Wait, I'll respond to that. You are absolutely correct. It says shall in the third year. So to me, there is no question, yay or nay on it. This is his third year. It's in the contract read. And like I said before, I want to adhere to a contract. On that third year, he's due to 106. The other 3% you're talking about is based on whether we given him a merit increase above and beyond that 106.
I understand.
So the 106, I think, is if we take a favorable vote, well, we don't even have to take a vote. It's in the contract. It says 106.
Correct.
So that's a done deal as far as I'm concerned.
It's not subject to satisfactory or anything like that. It's
correct.
Yep, it's there. It's
so. What you're referring to, Selectman Winslow, through you, Mr. Cruz, is the additional 3%.
Correct. Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
Just waiting for you to determine what the process is.
Well, you've heard comments from all of us. I want to know if you have a comment or a suggestion. Because right now, that 106 is, like I said, that's a done deal. It's in the contract. It's his third year, and he's entitled to it. Now, if the board wants to take a vote tonight on the favorable thing for the 3%, it's up to the board. But I'm saying we are here to the contract as it is written right now.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if I may, you know, from my standpoint, I would think that, you know, this performance-based increase or bonus, if you would certainly coincide with the negotiation or commence immediately or commence immediately prior to any renegotiation of Mr. Andrews' contract. Clearly, we are going to be in the process of determining whether or not we would like Mr. Andrews for an additional 3 years. And from my standpoint, I don't know what else there would have been on the agenda, with the exception of the discussion of a contract. And I would think that the discussion related to any merit increase would coincide with discussion of future contract.
Well, that's your opinion stated. The contract says 6 months prior to the expiration of his contract, we will get together and make that
Just
determination.
for clarif-
And right now, we have until June to determine one way or the other if Mr. Andrews is going to continue on. As far as I'm concerned, like I said, we take a vote of confidence, then he knows that we're on the right track. There's other things that need to be done. He's got 1 more year on the contract. The 106 is guaranteed, as it says in the contract. So I'm saying adhere to the contract.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if I may, I'd just like to point out to you that the contract says no later than 6 months. And I can tell you from sitting in my chair, I don't want to be coming down to the wire and determining what the future of this board or what the board thinks is the future of the town administrator. I think that the discussions should start early on in the process, and I think they should be tied to any merit-based increases.
Well, I think the discussion has started. It started tonight with his presentation. It started tonight with the conversation we're having. This is January 17th and June 14th. You have to have it before June 14th, and you'll have from now until 2 or 3 months to decide which way we're going to go. Like I said, the 106, there's no use of discussing that. And if you want a vote of confidence, or somebody make a motion.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
May I just, the contract does not tie the merit increase to any continuation of a contract or termination of a contract. I mean, that's an issue separate and above and beyond itself. And I do think that in January, the commitment to whether or not we want to contract further out from now, almost a year away from Mr. Andrews has almost a whole year left on his contract, it would be premature. I mean, we don't know where Mr. Andrews stands, and he may not have made his own decision as of now. You know, he's been most likely under the impression that he had many months to determine what his next move was going to be. So we may be putting Mr. Andrews in an uncomfortable position to attempt to negotiate so prematurely.
Well, I think by having this conversation we are having now, it does put him in a
It does.
conversation because, first of all, we should just have a vote of confidence. And if we want to go into any other thing, later on, like I said before, we call another meeting and go in an executive and discuss it. But right now,
What do you mean
was
by
I
a
here?
vote of confidence? I'm
like
not.
it says in the contract, so the public will know. If a majority of the board so agrees, no later than 6 months prior to the natural expiration of this agreement, parties shall meet to renegotiate terms of this agreement as provided under Article 4, Section 4.1. If the parties are unable to successfully renegotiate the terms of the agreement, then Andrew's employment with the town will end as of December 14, 2012, and he shall have no rights to further or to continue employment with the town.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes,
You
Mr.
just said that if we wanted to discuss it, we would go into executive session later. Are you saying later this evening?
No, I'm not. I'm not saying later this evening at all. I'm saying we have from now until June. So if you want to go over his contract about renegotiating it, then that's one thing. For the $106, it says here, $106,000, that's his comment. Whether we favorable, non-favorable, or whatever, he has that due him according to the contract.
Mr. Chairman, you know, I don't want to pretend here that I'm not fully aware of the fact that Mr. Andrews, or there's rumors circulating that Mr. Andrews may be looking at or have been offered employment elsewhere.
Mr. Chair.
Excuse me.
And I have to be honest with you, from my standpoint, you know, particularly in light of the discussion here, I'm of the mind frame that these discussions should take place rather than later regarding Mr. Andrews. I think the vote of confidence comes in whether or not we're going to start discussions on his contract.
Mr. Chair.
Okay. Mr. Winslow?
I think that Mr. Andrews is free to seek employment anywhere he wants, and this is not a topic we should be discussing in open public session. It's a rumor. We don't know it to be factual, and I wouldn't ask Mr. Andrews to answer that question. That would be wholly inappropriate of us. The contract clearly says that we are only required to give our to notify of our intent 6 months prior to the expiration of the contract. And I think that trying to force a premature discussion may turn out to be a bad move overall.
Mr. Chair.
Mrs. Begley?
Well, first of all, I think that it is entirely inappropriate that we've been vaguely and kind of dancing around negotiating a contract while we're sitting here. However, I'd really like to comment on Mr. Andrews' evaluation, his self-evaluation, that people don't seem to have pretty much disregarded at this table. I think that much has been accomplished. I think much more remains to be accomplished. Particularly, and Mr. Andrews and I have had this conversation, he's had this conversation with previous boards with his time management. And your inability to say no, Mr. Andrews. Sometimes the answer does have to be no, or that you delegate it to someone, or that you put off something until you have the time. Other than that, I have received multiple phone calls, multiple emails that from citizens in this town that have been very supportive and very appreciative of the fact that you can't say no, and that you have been very responsive to their requests or issues, or have tried to minimize some issues that may have gone out of control. The area of, in your self-evaluation, that you had gone down the list that was provided by the DOR was much appreciated, and I saw that you already addressed something that I had have mentioned a number of times in open meeting about having policies and procedures in place in the, particularly in the accountant's office, when we had the Powers and Sullivan presentation to address the material weaknesses. And I know that Mr. Holmes had also requested that those kinds of things be put on the agenda fairly frequently. So all in all, I think that it was a very good self-evaluation and reflected a great deal of the work that you have done. And sometimes I think that it's very difficult because that you have many people coming to you and they all think their problem is the most important. And one of the biggest challenges may be that this Board of Selectmen doesn't always present a united front and a common vision. And I hope that that's something that this board can work on in order to bring Wareham moving in the appropriate direction.
Mr. Holmes?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Andrews, I just want to say that I too read your town report, and you know, it's basically some of the issues in here are the same as last year, where you have this open communication. We heard from several organizations that you participated and helped them with their projects. I think that these open door meetings are an excellent thing that you continue to have. I think that the Wareham Works 2010, the Safe Beach, those types of things, you started pretty much when you got here, and I would hope that they would continue. I would say that in terms of the time management, I have noticed some improvement in terms of the delegation of authority. And those are all things that we were driving last year to get focus from the town administrator on the important issues, what I call the important issues. And that's our fiscal house. And although, there have been press releases, being on the other side of the aisle, I don't consider Wareham's fiscal house in order. And that's where I would tend to focus for this year. And that is the same list that I've had for several months. We need a town accountant, or we need a decision to outsource it. We need to get a seated director in place, or we need to make a decision. These are the types of decisions that I expect from administration, and the types of decisions that we haven't gotten. The delays in hiring, the not hiring of people. These are issues that cost us a lot of money in the long run. And the focus last year, if you recall, was to dedicate your department heads to focus on those issues so that you could focus on these issues. And I just don't have a strong feeling about we have this firm in here doing the work, and that's fine. And listen, and as I've told you before, I have no issue with outsourcing. I mean, if that's the way you want to go, then tell us that's the way you're going to go, and put an end to it, right? And you make a statement. So, I have a heartburn with the hiring practices that we've had. I've served on some of these committees, and I've been very disappointed in the results. And you have hired a bunch of people here. When you get into the Cedar area, Peter is a great guy, and you know that I like him. But you also know that my heartburn with that has been, for over a year, is that his commitment is to the grant. And my commitment is to economic development. And so you and I both know that we tend to disagree a little bit on that position. Because, Peter's doing a great job at managing the grants. But has not furthered economic development. And those are his words, not mine. That's what he's here to do. That's what he was hired to do. So, I'm looking forward to the getting a new economic development director. The other area that I think, again, in terms of the time management, and that's why we set that goal in place, was to refocus your time on meaningful issues. So when I look at that and I look at the union representation, it's what do we got left? We have our department heads, who are very important key people. Without them, you couldn't deliver this report, right? Without Chief, we don't have that. Without Gifford, we don't have the repavement and those efforts. Without Guy, we don't have a well-running sewer plant, right? So all these department heads are important to that success, right? And yet, no contract. So, what was the other one that's missing?
There's 2 people in the library.
The library, right?
2 people.
2 people. And so 25 months, 2 people, and what a presentation they gave tonight, right? And that was the whole point of the time management, was to focus on this stuff to get these done, right? So they come in. You had the 2 departments who came in tonight are doing outstanding work. Everybody clapped, right? Everybody's impressed. And the 2 departments that still don't have a contract. So God bless them for putting their effort forward, even though it seems that the town is not taking care of those. I'm not here to debate a contract. All I'm saying is...
The police have contracts.
All I'm saying is... I'm sorry?
The police have
All right,
contracts.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's really just
Department
one-
heads. Two department heads came in tonight who are part of a union with no agreement, and are doing an excellent job, as they all are, right? So, in my opinion, I still think that we're falling short on those, and those are my number one areas. You know that since I've met you, and I still don't think that those areas are being addressed. In the first year, we couldn't do it because you couldn't say no to anybody, as Mrs. Bagley says. But in the second year, you were supposed to focus on those things, and I think we missed the mark. And for the third year, I think that we really need to identify what those goals are, and name 5, and really hit them in the next, 11 months. So those would be my comments.
Now we all made an opinion, which we all have. We need to do is, he presented it. Mr. Snyder suggested that we do something with initiating the contract. Other people are saying no, so I need a motion so we can settle this. I think a favorable vote is do it this time, and from there on, if we need
vote for what?
If you want to do anything on the contract, he made his presentation. It'll be just like everybody who made it. Thank you for your presentation, and we'll take it under advisement, and we'll take it into another session. We want to vote on a certain day to come back, because to discuss the yay or nay of his performance right now, I think is inappropriate, because there's other things we can bring up. He is a people person. He knows how to work with the people, and he's doing what needs to be done for the town. You need a town administrator who's going to go out there and converse with the public, and he does a very good job on that. There's other things more to that than being a town administrator. We need a total package, no matter how you look at it. And right now, I need a motion. Unless we just say, Mr. Andrews, thank you for your presentation, and we'll get back with you.
Mr. Chair, with all due respect, Mr. Schneider and I's comments were related to procedure, and neither of us have had an opportunity to comment on Mr. Andrews' self-evaluation.
About his what?
Neither Mr. Schneider nor I, we were questioning the procedure that we were going to use going forward. We haven't had a chance to comment back on Mr. Andrews' self-evaluation.
I'm certainly I'm comfortable that I've conveyed the message that I'm trying to convey to the community and to this board and to the town administrator.
Thank you.
My turn.
Yeah, I think it is. Since you said it was just the two of you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, you obviously can make your own. I think that in everything, there's some really good things, some things that are just neutral, and some things that aren't so good. And that is true of people, and that is true of an employee. And it's never an easy thing to sit down and make a list of things that you've done great and things that you may not have done so great. So I do appreciate the hard work that Mr. Andrews has put in, and there are a lot of things that are very positive that I'm very happy to see. However, with that said, I do have some concerns, which may echo others' concerns, so I'll be as brief as possible. I think it's great that we've hired people and that we have new positions, but I am concerned because we made those decisions in a time, or I should say you made those decisions in a time with a lot of fiscal uncertainty, and now that we're going forward with a clean audit and a set tax rate and into a new budget year, we're going to really get a chance to see what the impact of those new positions are. In an economy where almost every community around us is still, shrinking, we're growing. And while I like that idea, and politically it's a great thing, but I'm not sure that that's prudent to our budget, and I am concerned about that. I'm also concerned because you state here that you are beginning the new contract negotiations with unions in FY 2012, and to date there's been no discussion with the Board of Selectmen And I think that Mrs. Begley made a good point, and one of the best ways for the board to have a vision and implement that vision over a time is through the collective bargaining process. We really do need to have a discussion about the direction that the board and the policies that the board wants to see in place. It's been tradition that the board has met with the town administrator to discuss the going forward in collective bargaining. At the end of the day, we have to ratify those agreements. And it is a great opportunity for us to look ahead into the future with our vision and where we want to see our community be 3, 6, 9 years down the road. And the last comment that I'm going to make is that, last two comments I'm going to make. I am concerned, and I'm really looking forward to Mr. Cole, an update from him, because there was a serious problem with the reconciliations, and I'm really hoping that he's going to report to us fairly soon that this is coming along and caught up and we're to date and everything is balanced out. And I know that obviously Powers and Sullivan needs to take a look at that snapshot of this first 6 months and things like that. But I am concerned about that, and I will be far more comfortable when I hear that that's done. And I will echo the concern about filling positions in a timely manner. Interim people are great. Interim employees are a wonderful way to really get a good look at someone. However, interims, not just for the town, but for them also, shouldn't be indefinite. Consultants are wonderful, but at the end of the day, their loyalty is not to the town. It's to their either own business or their employer. So I would like to see I really like the review committees. I think that helps narrow down the process. I think I know I did one, but I would really like to see positions, and I've asked for and still not received a list of the vacant positions and what the status is on those positions, whether they've been advertised, interviewed, there's finalists, things like that. And I still would like to know that. So I would overall say that I think that the self-evaluation is satisfactory, and I think that going forward from this point on with a clean audit, a tax rate set, and going through the next budget process, that Mr. Andrews owns this now. It's all on him going forward. We've cleaned up our books, got a nice clean audit we can work forward from. We have Mr. Cole, who's going to do great things for us and get everything in order. So I'm looking forward to the next couple of months and some more positive change in the right direction.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Snyder?
Mr. Chairman, I'm embarrassed to say that I had not, I didn't read my comments that I had prepared. I really had looked at this evaluation, I think, much differently than other members of the board. And I would like to read the comments with your permission. The one good thing is I'm glad to hear that there is somewhat of a unified message coming from this board, because the town administrator acts both directly and indirectly through others to manage the town. Evaluating the town administrator's performance is inevitably linked to evaluating the town's performance as a whole. The town administrator's self-evaluation both documents the town administrator's achievements and does allow the board to comment on any shortcomings in order to help the town administrator understand areas for needed improvement or identify where the board may be insufficiently informed. From my standpoint, it's important to see the annual assessment of the TA not as the evaluation itself, but as a starting point for a roadmap that will shape the discussions that will ultimately produce the policies and direction of that this board itself provides over the course of the coming year. The ultimate success of the town administrator is largely dependent upon how clear and concise the direction is from this board. Constant dialogue must occur in both directions, as the success or failure of the town administrator is dependent upon a cohesive and unified message. I think that in the area of continuing to improve the town's financial stability and overall financial administration, the town administrator has been very proactive in addressing the issues. And while the TA has commended other town personnel for the cooperative effort in getting the tax rate set on time, setting the tax rate on time shouldn't be something that we are commending anyone for. It should just be expected in the normal course. After all, that is what our taxes are paying for. That comment is offered in the context of what I see as a shortcoming. This isn't the only example. The setting of the tax rate is just a recent example. We need to stop overly commending staff for their efforts when the benchmark set for their jobs is the very task for which we are commending them. I agree positive reinforcement of town personnel is an essential element of building successful employees, but there are times, Mr. Andrews, when firm constructive criticism is necessary and appropriate as well. On the positive side, after years and years worth of inadequate financial management policies, practices, and procedures, we now have a much more lucid picture of our finances. And I do attribute that directly to the performance of the TA and the teams that he worked to put in place to get the tax rate set and certify free cash. We are now receiving regular monthly financials, which, as I understand it, never occurred with any real frequency in the past. In evaluating the TA's performance in the area of fiscal stability and financial administration, I also have to take into consideration that most of the financial mess was dumped directly in his lap. When judging him in this area, I looked at the end results. 1, the tax rate was set. 2, we received a clean audit. And 3, free cash was certified. I also looked at the process, which did prove difficult at times, including the attempts at finding a permanent town accountant and assessor, as well as the reconciliation procedure as a whole. Item 2 on Mr. Andrews' self-evaluation is a review of organizational effectiveness of town operations and use resources more effectively for our residents. Again, I think the town administrator has been proactive in this area. How effective he becomes is partly based on the cooperation he receives from department heads and the key stakeholders he deals with. When I evaluated his comments related to his performance in this area, I couldn't find anything he wrote that I disagreed with. What I did note, however, was what everyone else has, the substantial progress made in the areas of public safety, accountability of town departments and employees, the bringing to closure of long outstanding labor contracts, and formalization of relationships with nonprofits doing business with or providing aid to the town. In the area of internal and external communications, so that residents understand and participate in town governments, there is no question that the TA has enhanced internal and external communications. He is for the most part visible and accessible. However, I would offer 2 constructive observations. I would offer by way of a constructive criticism that there is a general feeling by some that the TA, in order to avoid criticism himself, is intentionally secretive or unwilling to provide information. I believe that much of that stems from the TA trying to anticipate and avoid the inevitable gotcha question that often comes from people who are trying to undermine him or the town. He needs to stop anticipating what the next question is and just simply answer the question when asked. The town operates under clear lines of authority, and oftentimes those lines of authority are blurred. The TA needs to take a more proactive approach in clearly articulating the formal lines of authority and not make hasty decisions to satisfy critics when their goal is to help them fail. Those hasty decisions cost us as a town and cost us in his leadership capital. As I said earlier, because the town administrator acts well, overall I think the TA has done a very good job, and I look forward to watching him and helping him grow and excel in the position. And I hope that this board takes the time to give the TA clear direction with one voice.
Thank you, Mr. Snyder. Thank you, Mr. Andrews, for your presentation, and I think we'll take it under advisement and we'll go from there. Mr. Clerk? Mr. Campina?
Miss,
Are you familiar with this that we just got in? The tax?
Yes, and
Right.
that's the 188. That's Bourne's annual contribution to the capital fund on the improvement of treatment.
Sorry, I
plant.
can't. I
It's
can't
done
hear.
yearly.
We'll wait a few seconds till they all clear out there.
Correct. Yes, ma'am. That's what they owe us. They pay us every year. At this time, we send them a bill around January for $180,000, their contribution to the capital improvement of the wastewater facility. It's under the IMA agreement.
Right.
And it's done every year.
Just fix.
I don't need any vote. You need to sign it and submit it. So you have to commit the money. You know what I'm saying? In other words, you have to say, yes, send the bill. I'd like to just send it, but I have to send the procedure. As I understand it, it comes to you. You guys approve it. Then we'll send the bill out to them.
I make a motion that we sign this letter directed to Mr. Foster to accept this letter as the board's commitment for the town of Bourne's share of the fiscal year 2012 capital cost for the water pollution control facility upgrade in the amount of $188,477.53.
Second for discussion.
Second for discussion by Mr. Snyder.
Mr.
Question?
Chairman, I really just have a quick question to Mr. Campino. It's a fixed cost throughout the entire term of the agreement? There's no...
Yes, as I understand it, absolutely. As I read the IMA, I don't see any deviation from it. But yes, it's a fixed cost. Their contribution, because of their usage of the pump stations, the lines, but specifically this 188 is for their contribution. When we had to upgrade the plant, because we have an IMA, they had to pay a percent of that. And I think it's, don't quote me, but like 17-point-something%, and they worked up the numbers, and that's what it is. That's how I understand
So
it.
in other words, it's not a cut and dry cost. In other words, they have to go, we make improvements, they have to share in the
Well, that's
expense.
that's another issue. This is cut and dry for the annual. Like right now, we're doing improvements to the pump stations for ventilations. They're going to need part of that also.
Okay,
In fact, I'm
thank
in
you.
discussions with them now as to their obligation too. They've set aside $45,000 to help us make those improvements because on the pump station specific coming up, Cohasset Narrows, Dix Pond, Depot, and the lines, they help us because that's what they use to transmit to the treatment plant. And this 188 is for their portion of upgrading the treatment plant.
They help you.
It's a fix. Every year we send them a bill forever, and it's fixed.
It helps me, but it's just, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. But
Yeah, I agree. As I read the IMA, it's involved and long, and some of it, sometimes I get lost in it, other times I have clarity. So you really need to dig into the IMA because, yeah, it'll explain under Section 5 of the IMA, it speaks of the capital that they have to contribute, and that number came out to 188 when they're contributing it, and they do it every year. So we have to bill them every year. They won't send it automatically. We have to bill them. You would think they'd send it automatically. They know they owe it.
No other question? Any other
Thank you,
questions?
Mr. Campino.
No. Any? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 5-0-0. Motion was made
Mike seconded.
to adjourn.
Oh, motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn? Yeah, 5-0-0. Motion to adjourn? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
3-2.